chance of being given leave to remain.
There was a Union Jack flag put up and I took it down instantly. And some people might be watching this and thinking, well, Gary, not very patriotic.
No, look, he's a thick footballer, isn't he? Let's be clear.
I don't think he's thick.
Well, no,
he's not
I think
thick.
He is. No, I think he's thick on the basis that he sees it through that lens that somehow... But don't forget, he's talking about the context of the murders in that Manchester synagogue.
Yeah. The other enablers are the people who say don't talk about grooming gangs because we want to have a more community cohesion.
I suggest that, you know, there are certain Garys in the commentariat that might have headed the ball a bit too much in their careers.
Well, I had the misfortune to sit through the entire Keir Starmer.
So did I.
When was the last time that you heard Nigel Farage say anything positive about Britain's future? He can't. He doesn't like Britain, doesn't believe in Britain, wants you to doubt it just as much as he does.
I don't know about you, I'm still kind of absorbing the kind of full content of that extraordinary speech. And I was still digesting it when up pops Nigel Farage with an absolutely extraordinary comeback.
Labour says these policies are racist and immoral. Yes, if you think we should control our borders, you are, by the definition of the Prime Minister and his cabinet, all racists.
United Kingdom. Where's United Kingdom?
Behind you.
Where?
Oh, I'm here. Oh, there you are.
Very good.
Oh, Keir's coming forward.
All came in like 20-minute notice.
Oh, he's come up to speak and Trump sent him away.
Others, and just so many others. And it's such a compliment to what we're doing because what we've done is something very unique and very special. So it's perhaps the wealthiest and most powerful.
Right, cut him now. Cut that. Just stop Trump now. I had to wait for that, people.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yeah, good morning and welcome to Morning Glory right here on Talk. I'm Kevin O'Sullivan. I'm in for Mike Graham, my old friend, and I'll be with you all the way until 10 o'clock. Stand by for 4 fabulous hours of news, views and topical debate. Get involved, get on the phone and call me on 0344 499 1000 or you can WhatsApp voice note me on the same number and I promise to play your message out. It is Thursday, October the 30th. Here's what's coming up. There's a sense of dread spreading through the country as more and more asylum seekers are convicted of or charged with horrendous crimes. As a traumatized nation went into a kind of shock after the frenzied murder of a decent man just walking his little dog and the arrest of an Afghani migrant who came here illegally on the back of a lorry, it emerged that a Somalian national walked into a bank in Derby and stabbed a random victim to death because he was angry that his asylum application had been rejected. In response to his failure to be allowed to stay, this monster threatened to kill 500 people, but settled on just one. A father of 3 who just happened to be in a branch of Lloyd's at the wrong time. As he launched his murderous attack, 47-year-old Haby Nuer shouted, "F the English" and "white racist bastards," and then tried to run straight into oncoming traffic. Known as a prolific criminal in 4 European countries and arrested in the UK in December 2024 for public order offences, what was this fiend even doing in Britain? Why was he here? 0344 499 1000. Meanwhile, cross-channel migrant Deng Chol Majek was found guilty last week of the brutal murder of a girl who worked at his asylum seeker hotel in Walsall, stabbed her 23 times with a screwdriver. and then danced around whooping with excitement. Also, migrant Shafilia Rasuli is awaiting sentence after sexually assaulting 2 women as he delivered takeaway food to their homes in Maidstone in Kent. In the light of all this and the hundreds more asylum seekers facing trials, the question to this lousy Labour government and previous terrible Tory governments that just let in hordes of undocumented foreigners, mainly young men of a military and sexually active age who broke into the UK illegally, the question has to be, what have you done to this country? What have you done? What have you done? 0344 499 1000. And another question for our current Prime Minister, Keir Starmer. When are you going to say something about the atrocity in Uxbridge? Why are you maintaining this strange silence? The nation expects leadership. How about showing some, Starmer? 0344 499 1000. In other news, Rachel from Accounts broke the law when she rented out her South London home for more than £70,000 a year. So she moves into number 11 as the alleged Chancellor, and enabling her to rent out her house in Dulwich in South London. Very nice area. More than 70 grand a year she gets for that. You have to apply for a licence to do that, a landlord's licence, in the borough that she lives. She didn't do that. So she's been found out by the Daily Mail, so now she's full of apology. Oh, I didn't realise. Oh, yeah. So she's naturally written a letter apologising to Keir Starmer, and of course, equally naturally, inevitably, he has said, I accept your apology, and there's obviously an unforeseen mistake, and he has drawn a line under the entire matter. Of course he has. But after Two-Tier Keir piously announced that lawmakers cannot be law breakers, shouldn't the world's worst Chancellor walk the plank? 0344 499 1000. All that and so much more. So don't go anywhere. Stick with me right here, right now on Talk, home of free speech and common sense. Let's spend Thursday morning together. We've got a packed show for you today. Of course, once again, as you all know, Mike Graham is on leave, and you know why. There's an investigation going on into his Facebook page. As I say every day, he has to wait for the result of that investigation. So do I, and so do you. So does everybody. So until such time as we come to the end of that probe, let's just carry on with the show as we have to do. So bear with us. And who better to help me through the first hour to review the papers? Haven't seen her for ages. Good to see her again. It is writer and broadcaster Emma Trimble, or Emma Webb, as I always knew you. You got married
It's been such a long time.
Since you got married since last time. She's got a different name. Good to see you, Emma.
Likewise, it's really good to be back.
We'll get to Rachel Reeves, who is all over the front page of the Daily Mail in just a little while. But I do feel that what the nation are traumatised by is this increasing number of serious offences by asylum seekers, by migrants. This isn't racism, folks. This is a fact. So we have, for the last 15, 16 years, successive terrible Tory governments, and now this current Labour government, have let in thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of undocumented foreigners, people who break into our country illegally, come across the channel in small boats or on the back of lorries. Then when we catch them, or when they we go, we don't know anything about you, but please, here's a 4-star hotel, here's 50 quid a week, here's a free lawyer to fight your case to stay. Oh, by the way, you can have free doctors, free dentists as well. And we'll also give you driving lessons and free video consoles, game consoles. How about trampoline lessons, trips to the zoo? We do all that. So they keep on coming. Now we're beginning to find out a sinister element to this, a sinister aspect to what these governments have done. As I said in my monologue, you know, hand on heart, we have to ask these various governments, including this one, what on earth have you done to this country? We're going to play you later a lady who phoned Julia Hartley-Brewer here on Talk yesterday in floods of tears because she doesn't recognise her own neighbourhood anymore. She's scared to go out. I've been covering a story of a primary school in to the west of London, very near where this awful murder of this poor guy walking his dog unfolded on Monday night. This is called Cherry Lane Primary School. Every day it is besieged by hundreds of migrants, hundreds of asylum seekers who come from the nearby asylum seeker hotels and just hang around outside the school because there's a lot of grass and benches, and they smoke sheesh pipes and leer at the kids. And this is the scene, we're watching the video now. It's extraordinary. You're going to see in just a second. I don't know if you can see it, Emma. Look at that. Hundreds of them escorted by the police. They're making their way to this school. Then they sit around outside the school. Some of them smoking sheesh pipes and others leering through holes in the wall at the kids in the playground. The parents have staged demonstrations. But these are they are smoking the sheesh pipe. Is that right? Is that right? That's right outside a kid's playground. I mean, come on. 640 kids, 3 to 11 years old in this. Now, as I said in my monologue, also, we know in the summer, both the Sun and the Mail revealed that there were hundreds of asylum seekers who are in these 400 or so asylum seeker hotels around the country who have either been convicted of or charged with serious crimes. We're awaiting the results of these various criminal investigations, and they're beginning to come through. We've just found out that the terrible murder on Monday of a guy called Wayne Broadhurst, 49-year-old council worker, just walking his little dog, 5 p.m. Monday afternoon, down a residential side street in Uxbridge to the west of London. We've just found out that Afghani national Safi Dawood has been charged with murder and attempted murder following that triple stabbing in Uxbridge, because also a 45-year-old guy was critically wounded, injured. He's fighting for his life, facing life-changing injuries, and also a 14-year-old boy was injured as well, but he will recover. So we've just found out, this is now a live case, so we have to be slightly careful there. Afghani national Safi Dawood has been charged with murder and attempted murder following the live stabbing. But meanwhile, we find out that a Somalian national walked into a bank in Derby and stabbed a random victim to death because he was angry because his asylum application had been refused. I mean, you know, that's a rare thing, isn't it, for a kick-off? No wonder he was angry, because most of them don't get refused. He had previously, in response to this rejection, threatened to kill 500 people, but he settled on just one. A poor guy, father of 3, who just happened to be in the branch of Lloyd's at the wrong time. Also, this guy, his name is Habe Noor, shouted "F the English and white racist bastards," and then tried to run straight into oncoming traffic. Also, a cross-channel migrant last week, Deng Chol Majek, was found guilty of the brutal murder of a poor little girl who worked at his asylum seeker hotel, stabbed her 23 times with a screwdriver and then danced around whooping with excitement. Another migrant, Shafiola Rasuli, is awaiting sentence after sexually assaulting 2 women as he delivered takeaway food to their homes in Maidstone in Kent. And on it goes. The people of this country are now feeling incredibly unsafe, and the finger of blame points at successive governments, including this one, who've opened our borders to thousands and thousands of mainly young men about whom we know nothing. This is shocking, isn't it?
I mean, I'm angry. Just listening to you saying, you know, mentioning all of these cases, I can feel my sort of blood pressure rising. How many people need to be raped and murdered before we stop letting these people in the first place? These are all crimes that would not have happened if we had control over our borders. People have, for decades and decades, since even before I was born, expressed their desire to have lower migration. Since we've had this migrant crisis and all these people coming illegally across the channel, people have time and time again at the ballot box, in surveys, in polling, made it very clear that they want this to stop. Successive governments have refused to do anything about it. It's an act of national suicide. People are literally dying. As you mentioned, the lady who did the interview with Julia Hartley-Brewer, who was literally sobbing, saying she knows people who have died. She's afraid to go out on her own without, I think she said, without being accompanied by a man. This is Great Britain, for crying out loud, you know. We should not have to live like this. We do not have to live like this. We have been completely betrayed by the political class. Sure. People are justifiably angry. They're angry, they're worried about their children, they're worried about their, like you showed the video of them smoking their shisha pipes near a school, leering through school gates and things like that. People are absolutely right to protest this, and yet when they do, they get demonised. And it leaves people feeling completely powerless because they're not listened to at the ballot box. They're not, when they protest, they get demonised and called far right. It's as if we're supposed to just lay down like little dogs and roll on our backs and take it.
We're exactly right, and we're not going to take it. And I think we're reaching a kind of crisis point with this. The nation have had enough of this. They're furious. They're afraid, and they're furious. I put out a tweet last night, and I think it's very, very relevant. It's fair to say, I'll say one thing for the authorities. They've learned their lesson about trying to keep the ethnicity and the asylum seeker status of potential criminals secret, like they did in Southport a year ago, like they have done successively. They've now got a policy that if an alleged perpetrator of an horrific crime, someone arrested, is an asylum seeker or a migrant, they do, to be fair, now make a point of announcing it, as they did with this terrible murder of poor Wayne Broadhurst. I can't get over it. I've seen I don't know if you've seen the video.
I have, yeah.
And they, you know, I know this sounds trite, and of course the most horrific thing about it is, you know, this guy just time and time again going like this, stabbing this poor guy to death. He's just a guy walking, and
Keir Starmer has absolutely nothing to say.
Exactly right. And then his little dog, though, dancing around, thinking it's
not
a
knowing what to do.
Yeah, the whole scene is. So I think the whole thing, particularly as a lot of people have seen that video, has traumatised the nation, and that's exactly what I was going to say, Emma. Where is our Prime Minister? Where is our leader? Why hasn't he said anything? I put a tweet out last night about the strange silence of Keir Starmer, and it just flew. It's had about 5,000 retweets. It's been seen about 400,000 times. It really struck a chord. Where are you, Starmer? Are you going to say something about this? It's disgusting, I think. You know, he's supposed to be our leader. Show some damn leadership.
It's almost as if it's just accepted. This is what happens now. This is the price you pay for having open borders. These sorts of things, I mean, lots of people comment about this online. Every single day it seems to be a new thing. I mean, the cases that you mentioned were just in the last week alone, whether it was them being charged or whether, you know, the actual crime being committed. Every single day there is more news like this. And perhaps the Prime Minister just thinks, OK, well, maybe the British people have just accepted that's just how we live now. But people haven't. They expect his disgust. They expect his horror, because I think people are so charitable that they still expect from Keir Starmer for him to behave like a normal British person and actually have some feeling for his fellow countrymen, when it seems that he doesn't even think that this is something important to comment on publicly. I was watching his Twitter as soon as this news broke.
Yeah.
I
I
kept
went through it
checking
last night.
constantly.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Me too,
Tweeting
me
about
too.
other stuff.
It's exactly what I did last night. I said, well, there must be something, because he loves to make it. He makes these daily tweets. He's always doing tweets about, Britain is safer and better under Labour. The economy is going great guns, and various other lies. We are sealing our borders and various other barefaced lies. That's what Keir Starmer does for a living. He lies to the nation. Take the Chinese spy case. Man, is he lying about that. He lied to the Commons about that. It's unbelievable. So he's just a liar. But I thought he would say something about this. We have to be careful now, because this man has been charged with that murder. But the sheer event of it, I think, required a response from the Prime Minister. And why hasn't he said anything? I think it's because subsequent to the sheer horror of the actual murder, the authorities announced that guess who had been arrested on suspicion of the murder? It was an Afghani migrant who came here 5 years ago on the back of a lorry illegally and was subsequently granted leave to stay. His asylum application was granted. I think that the reason Keir Starmer is maintaining this strange silence is he doesn't like that circumstance, because it will make people say, what is this damn government doing about our migrant crisis? What is it doing about all these people who keep breaking into the country illegally? Why does it keep letting them stay? That's why he doesn't want to get involved in this, because it causes great embarrassment for this government, and to be fair, previous Tory governments too.
And remember how when he went up to Southport after that attack, how much he badly mucked that up, and he was even being heckled by local people because he just did not manage the situation properly. We've just had also one of the other cases in the last week of this guy who was released from the prison in Chelmsford, who managed to make it all the way to Finsbury Park. 48 hours later, police didn't catch him. In fact, he tried to hand himself over to police, apparently.
We're going to be covering that in just a little while.
But I mean, this just goes to show that Keir Starmer is not taking people's concerns about security seriously. Even talk of housing these migrants not in hotels but on military bases, which is an obvious security risk. I spoke to somebody who has worked, has first-hand experience of this, work with the military, who said that on a weekly basis they had sexual assaults, they had security breaches, because these people are wandering around unescorted on the inside of the wires of these military bases that are supposed to be secure. This is a ridiculous situation. Keir Starmer,
except for don't forget, they're not locked up. They're allowed to. They're not under arrest. They're not detained. They're just put in there to live, just like they're putting hotels. None of these asylum seekers are banned from doing anything. They're completely free.
The bigger picture is that, Keir Starmer, whether it is on the Chagos Islands, whether it is on where the migrants are being housed, whether it's on securing our borders, this is a man who does not take Britain's security seriously. And people are actually terrified. They're terrified to go out in their local area.
Exactly right, as that poor lady revealed when she called Julia Hartley-Brewer yesterday here on Talk on her mid-morning show in a state of serious distress. We'll play you that later. When we come back, we will just thought we ought to talk about all that. All that stuff is in the papers, of course, but we'll get to a real paper review when we come back, and we'll kick off with old Rachel Reeves. Reeves illegally rented out her own family home. Keir Starmer, lawmakers cannot be lawbreakers. Well, what about your Chancellor, Keir? We'll talk about that next.
violence went up in our prisons. Self-harm went up in our prisons. Drug abuse went up in our prisons. And prison officer numbers were cut under his watch. William Fernandez was released in error in March 2021. He was a sexual predator. He raped a 16-year-old and sexually assaulted another young woman after he was let out by prison in 2021. Was there an independent investigation? No.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. This is page one in the Daily Mail that Reeves illegally rented out her own family home. So, you know, being the Chancellor, Emma, she gets this sort of added perk. So her and her family move into number 11 Downing Street. Very good address, very good area. Not keen on the neighbour, though. Don't like him at all. But anyway, she's able to rent out her family home, the one she owns, down in Dulwich, very nice area in South London. £3,000 a month. She makes apparently more than £70,000 a year on it. Now, in the borough of Dulwich, you have to get a landlord's licence, which involves, proving that the place is safe and fireproof and all that kind of stuff. Cost £900, funny enough. She didn't do that, and the Daily Mail found her out. And so now she's full of writing letters to Starmer. I'm so oversight, so sorry. Oh, you've done the right thing. You're such an honest and honourable person, and I accept your apology. And I think that is enough to draw a line under the matter, which is what will happen. Nothing will happen because of this. But don't forget, Keir Starmer is the Prime Minister who piously announced upon becoming our supreme leader, that his government will be a paragon of honesty and decency, and that lawmakers could not be lawbreakers. She's broken the law. What's he going to do about it? I'll tell you, sadly, he's going to do nothing. But, again, another calamity for this calamitous government.
Yeah, it is nice to see them falling prey to the sorts of red tape that they are only really making worse and worse. But you're going to think I've gone really soft on this.
You better not.
To be fair, I think
this is
that
talk.
She's done this through a letting agent, and you would think it should be the letting agent's responsibility to sort that kind of thing out.
Yeah, she says that the letting agent
did. It's not like she was found out. She realised she'd made a mistake, and then she went and she reported it to the appropriate authorities and everything. So in a sense, she's done the right thing. It's not the sort of mistake that somebody of the Chancellor's status should be making, because there should be extra diligence. There should even, this is quite a common thing for people in this position to do. There should be even some guidance.
Starmer's doing
I mean, there should be sort of guidance even made available to them so that they do their diligence properly and don't make this kind of mistake.
You're right. Yeah.
I mean, it actually, I think, if anything, this is not really so much Rachel Reeves has done this illegally, how bad is she? This is more of a, look how incompetent this government is that they can't even get this kind of thing right. But like I say, I mean, it is kind of the letting agent's responsibility.
Yeah, look, this is you're right. In fair, I hate to admit this, but you're right.
I've made you go soft now.
No, this is the kind of oversight that people do make, but she's the Chancellor of the damn Exchequer, and she should have been a lot more careful about this. But here she is in 2021, singing a different song.
A whole growing feeling that there's one rule for those at the top and another for everybody else, that we need to root out of our politics.
blimey, she's aged, hasn't she? 2020. That's what happens if you're a Chancellor of the Exchequer. It ages you. If you're a really, really terrible Chancellor of the Exchequer, it ages you really, really terribly, and it has clearly. Here is Kemi Badenoch grilling Starmer on the question of taxes in July and yesterday.
Mr. Speaker, in their manifesto last year, Labour promised not to increase income tax, not to increase national insurance, and not to increase VAT. Does the Prime Minister still stand by his promises?
Yes.
Last year, in its manifesto, Labour promised not to increase income tax, not to increase national insurance, and not to increase VAT. Does the Prime Minister still stand by his promises?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I'm glad that the Leader of the Opposition is now finally talking about the economy. I can update the House, Mr. Speaker. Retail sales are higher than expected. Inflation is lower than expected. Growth has been upgraded this year. And, Mr. Speaker, the UK stock market is at an all-time high. The budget is on the 26th of November, and we will lay out our plans. But I can tell the House now that we will build a stronger economy, we will cut NHS waiting lists and deliver a better future for our country.
And here are the plans for that November budget from hell next month. They're on the front page of the Telegraph, page 1. Reeves eyes 2p income tax rise. So she's going to break her promise on so many levels. She promised, read my lips, no more tax rises. This was the last budget from hell last October. She said this will be the last time I'll tax you. I'll have to raise taxes. I promise. So she's now not going to. That's a big tax rise, 2p. You know, he's actually boasting about the upcoming budget in November. The upcoming budget in November will actually sign his death knell. I mean, it's already pretty much signed. And, of course, there's no doubt whatsoever that Keir Starmer is gone after the local elections in May. But, you know, you expect this nonsense from politicians, particularly a politician of Starmer's low calibre. But what on earth is he talking about there?
I mean, it's shocking. I was really hoping we were going to talk about this because they have just lied, right? They've just lied to the electorate. They made it very, very clear in their manifesto pledges they weren't going to raise national insurance, they weren't going to raise income tax. They have dug their own grave by repeatedly saying for the entire period of the government so far, repeatedly hammering in, we're not going to tax working people, we're not going to tax working people. And what are they going to do? They're going to tax working people. They did it by stealth with the national insurance rises, and now they're doing it explicitly through raising income tax. They have simply lied to the public, broken their promises. They're acting as if the manifesto doesn't bind them in any way at all. Yeah, sure, maybe they shouldn't have promised to not raising income tax because in doing so, they committed themselves to something that may have been inevitable. But it's bad politics, sure. But for Keir Starmer in PMQs, and it really was one of the worst PMQs that I mean, he literally, Kemi Badenoch could have been talking to a chatbot and she would have got more from him, because he really was just repeating the same Labour lines over and over again, terrible. Not giving an answer, equivocating, insisting the economy is great when people know that it isn't. So not only is it bad politics, but also people are really genuinely struggling to afford to live. And for them to increase income tax, and also for them to talk about things like wealth tax on people who are asset rich because they own houses over a certain amount of money, I think it was 2 million or something, but are not necessarily, don't necessarily have a lot of money in their pockets. Mm-hmm. People like pensioners, for example. I know of people who are leaving the country, taking their businesses out of the country because this has become a hostile environment to them. This country is becoming hostile to people who have any kind of ambition whatsoever. It's punitive. They are driving the British people into the ground by milking us dry.
And we are in a circle of, what they call it, a doom loop, a gloom loop. Gloom loop, doom loop, and the doom loop. It is definitely both. It's the reason she's going to have to break all our promises in her budget from hell next month. and tax the backsides of us, which she promised she wouldn't do. The reason she's going to have to do this is because of her last budget, last October, which was a disaster, a £40 billion tax grab, raising national insurance for employers, making their businesses unviable. So she ruined the economy with her tax grab budget last October. Of course, why did she grab so much of our taxes? It was so she could give massive pay rises to the public sector. What we're trapped in, folks, is this: a socialist government carrying out socialist policies, which is to bleed the private sector dry, to bleed individuals dry, and to take the money that they tax the private sector with and give it to the public sector. And that is a recipe for economic disaster.
There's going to be nothing left for them to tax.
And because she did that last October and destroyed the economy, destroyed any chance of growth, we've got inflation soaring as well, house market just not happening anymore, because she killed this economy stone dead, because she killed just the spirit of this country, of business in this country, stone dead. She's got to tax the hell out of us again next month. She talked about, inherited a £22 billion black hole in our finances left by the previous Tory government. Well, here's the deal. The Financial Times looked into this and said, we can find no trace of this 22 billion.
Made up?
Well, they made it up in order to tax us so they could give the doctors and the train drivers massive great pay rise. They made it up. Now, because of her terrible economy and all the money she's given to the private sector, she has created, never mind the pretend £22 billion black hole, she, Chancellor Reeves, Rachel from Accounts, has created a genuine £50 billion black hole, which she now has to fill by taxing us. Therein lies our ongoing doom loop.
Yeah, Rachel Thieves. No wonder she keeps crying.
Yeah. She didn't only cry in the comments. She said she was crying at the Labour conference as well. She's always
it's
crying.
pathetic. If you can't hold your emotions together in public like that, I don't think you should be in any senior position in government, never mind Chancellor of the Exchequer. But anyway, you mentioned the 41 billion tax grab that in the last budget. That public spending increase was 71 billion. It is just incredible. It's punishing the people who create the wealth in order to funnel the money to the people who are basically Labour's base, the public sector workers. It's a completely unsustainable situation. I'm not an economist, and I know that this is bad economics. She really, I mean, she's sort of hoisting herself by her own petard.
Yeah, and you know, people do not. When do you remember in America? Do you remember? George Bush, W. Bush, he's told the electorate to read my lips. There will be no more tax rises. Then there were tax rises, and it lost in the election.
It's going to be Labour's poll tax.
If governments make promises about not raising taxes and then renege on those promises, it is suicidal for them. The effects are catastrophic for them. And this government is an ongoing catastrophe. Well, listen, when we come back, we're going to talk about this. Our friend Hadush Kabatu, the prisoner who was accidentally released from Chelmsford jail last Friday, and is now back, having been deported in his native Ethiopia. In order to leave Britain, we bribed him with 500 quid. Why did we give him 500 quid? Because he said that if we didn't give him some money, he wouldn't go quietly. He's also made given an incredible interview about how he kept trying to get back into prison after they accidentally released him. We'll play you that next, and we'll talk about this But why don't you give him 500 quid? Just tell him to bugger off. It's unbelievable. We'll talk about that next. Stay tuned.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. As I said before the break, we're going to talk about this. Page one of the Express. Sex attacker migrant was given £500 to leave. This is our friend Hadush Kubatu, the asylum seeker sex assaulter who was resident in the Bell Hotel, the notorious Bell Hotel in Epping. His attacks on a 14-year-old girl and a woman who tried to protect her. A woman stepped in to say, leave her alone, and then he rounded on her. So he ended up there, and the people of Epping and others protested. They were all called racists, and then it turned out to be true. But they did have a sex attacker in their midst, an asylum seeker imposed upon them by this mad migrant crisis, which we're trapped in as a nation. Anyway, so he gets sent to jail. We know the story. Accidentally, last Friday, he's let out of Chelmsford. Time and time again, tried to get back in. We'll play you a little video of him talking about that in a second. But Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary, Emma, earlier this week was boasting about, I pulled all the levers and I got him out of the country as soon as I could, and God, I'm good. Anyway, it turns out we've got a returns deal with Ethiopia. It's not difficult to get people. Now, if he came from a country with which we did not have a returns deal, he'd still be here. But in order to, what she said, we got tough with this guy. A lot of people saying, well, if you can get him out of the country so easily, what about the other thousands? There's more than 10,000 foreigners, many of them asylum seekers and migrants, in our jails who've broken our laws. Why can't you deport all of them if you got this guy out so efficiently? What about the rest of them? So that said, in order to this tough, hard-as-nails Home Secretary, in order to persuade this sex offender to get on a plane and go back to Ethiopia, his home country of Ethiopia, where, by the way, he will just walk free. He's as happy as Larry, he really is. I feel sorry for his victims. That's his punishment. Don't worry, we've really punished the person that sexually assaulted you. We put him on a plane back to Africa and he's going to go free.
Bunged him a few quid.
But in order to get him on the plane, he said, if you don't give me some money, I'm going to kick up merry hell. I'm going to make a real racket. So they gave him 500 quid. What on earth is going on?
He held them hostage in a sense, didn't he? Sort of extorting a bribe from them in order to get him to leave. Well, one of the things that I haven't seen anybody really talking about is the fact that one of the first outrages was that this guy was only given a 12-month sentence in the first place. I mean, someone like Lucy Connolly gets 2.5 years for a tweet.
Yeah, well, by the way, on that, he gets a year. Two of the people protesting about his sex crimes and the presence of an asylum seeker hotel in the small, nice town of Epping, the protesters, the demonstrations, two of those protesters who were deemed to have gone over the top and been a bit violent, they got 2 years. And they got 2 years. They got twice as long as the man who committed the assault.
And he sexually assaulted a minor as well. This is a
14-year-old girl, yeah.
And so he's a paedophile. But the thing that I haven't seen anybody really talking about is that he was released after just 1 month of his sentence to be deported. Yeah. Well, obviously not to be deported, to just be let free. I just think that that's absolutely outrageous. I mean, he never mind him going back to his country and being free there. I mean, he should have served his entire sentence, surely, to be properly punished.
I was talking about this yesterday with Theo Usherwood, and we both agreed, that this is... People go, just get him out of the country. Get him out. Yeah, thank God he's gone. Well, yes, I get that. And I suppose it's one way of dealing with this. But what I worry about is his victims. The idea of, look, he sexually assaulted a minor, 14-year-old girl, and then when a nice lady stepped in to try and save her, he sexually assaulted her as well. And as you say, he has done 1 month behind bars. He is now a free man in Ethiopia. He deserves to be punished for this. So our haste to get these people on planes and out of the country gets them off the hook. It's the first thing they say in the doc. I want to go home. I want to go home. And the reason they want to go home is that means they don't serve a prison sentence. I get this, but it's not really acceptable.
Yeah, what kind of deterrent is it as well? If you have people, we have, like I've said, we have no idea who these people are who are coming across the channel. Many of them throw away their documentation, their passports, whatever. You often hear people on the left saying things like, oh, well, you know, they've come from countries where they don't know right from wrong. That's ridiculous. Many of these people are coming from countries where they might be executed for doing a crime like this. They certainly wouldn't get off so easily and just be deported back to their country. I mean, and also you mentioned Shabana Mahmood, the guy who was deported on this silly scam of a one-in, one-out scheme, who managed to get back into the country, is still here.
Yeah, he's still here. We're going to cover that story later. I mean, it's just ridiculous. The one-in, one-out scheme. I mean, just get rid. Do you know they spent £100 million on it so far?
But the point is that
we got 46 migrants out.
If you deport people rather than having them serve their sentences and they just come back in anyway, they just make the journey again and come back here. It's like we're bailing out a boat that's full of holes with a bucket that's full of holes. This is a ridiculous way to approach it. In the meantime, men, women and children in this country are just not safe.
Exactly right. Now, Hadush Kabatu, he gave an interview to Sky News about this extraordinary saga. So they released him accidentally, by mistake, from Chelmsford Prison on Friday. He was bemused and confused, and he kept going back to the gatehouse, to the prison. He said, are you sure about this? You know, I don't quite know what to do. He kept going, are you sure? And he went back 5 times, and in the end one of the guards said, oh, for God's sake, the station is down the road on the left, will you just go? So he just wandered off and got on a train to London. Here he is talking about it to Sky News.
On the morning, Saturday, I get a police. Look here. Please, I am wanted man. I arrested. I will give you my hand. Please help him. Where is police station? He ignored me. He drive. I am not unknown. The police station, where is the place? I am not Google it, but also I get the police. I will give you my hand. Please help me. Where is the police station? Take me. I am wanted. You know me, my image. My name is Hadush Kabatu. I am national of Ethiopia. Please, I want the mistake release from Chelmsford Prison. Please help me. Who can responsible for me? Where is Home Office? Where is the immigrant? I will tell them, but also all of the experts they are ignored me.
So there you have it. After desperately trying to persuade Chelmsford Prison to readmit him so he could carry on with his sentence for sexual assault, he finally gets on a train, comes to London, then goes to a police station and says, you know, I'm Hadush Kabatu, and, you know, I'm the guy that...
Please arrest me.
I'm the Britain's most famous asylum seeker sex offender. I'm handing myself in. And they said, oh, no, off you go, off you go. This country, I mean, can we do anything right?
It almost makes you wonder, even when you think about the fact that he was accidentally released, it's hard to believe that it's not done on purpose, because it is so farcical and it is so incompetent. The fact that this guy, whose face is plastered all over the media for 48 hours, can go to a police officer and say, I'm a wanted man, please arrest me, and then the police officer just turns him away. And the fact that the police have now claimed, oh, you know, we've managed to catch this guy, but it was actually he was spotted by a member of the public.
Well, now we know that not only was the police were boasting about their diligent search for this guy, now we know that it wasn't very diligent, to the extent that when he tried to hand himself into a police station, they shooed him away. Listen, we better go to break. When we come back, we'll play you talk about safety on the streets. Kirsty Gallagher, page 9 of the Mail, famous TV presenter, of course. She's been attacked on the streets, and we will play you a caller to Julia Hartley-Brewer's show yesterday, Sarah, in a distraught state about all this. So that next, stay tuned.
of looks like a penitentiary. Like, he looks like he's in some sort of like prison overalls begging to be released. But, you know, they're going to love it. Everyone's going to flock to it, aren't they? All the sort of, you know, short-fringed lunatics and lumberjack shirt-wearing, big-bearded, beard oil, sourdough munching Egypts are going to be queuing up to go to it. So fine, you know, let's just hope he registers it on his parliamentary expenses.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. This is Morning Glory. I'm Kevin O'Sullivan, in for Mike Graham. I'm with Emma Trimble, writer and broadcaster. Used to be Emma Webb. Don't see her for about 2 years. She turns up, she's got a different name. God, talk about confusing. Anyway, we're doing the paper review. This is the page 9 of the Daily Mail. Terror of TV's Kirsty as masked slug kicked her like a football as she walked to her car after work. So in London, Kirsty Gallagher, famous TV presenter, on her way back to her car after doing her job. Guy apparently brushed it past her, all dressed in black with a hoodie, and then he turned around and just kicked her all over the place. So another tale of terror on our streets, which was pretty much summed up by phone caller Sarah to Julia Hartley Brewer's show yesterday, pleading with the Prime Minister to restore safety to our streets. This is pretty harrowing. Listen to this.
I live in the borough right next to Hillingdon.
Yep.
And I moved into my house in 2019. My local shop, there's been 3 stabbings, 1 murder since then.
Wow.
My friend was murdered last year up on the High Street. Girl I know was murdered in Southall Park. The government are failing us. I'm so scared for my children. I have a 22-year-old son, and I'm begging him to move out of the country.
Oh my goodness, I feel for you.
What are these politicians doing to us? They're putting our children in so much danger. They're putting everyone in danger, and they're not doing nothing to help us. British people never vote against their government.
Yeah.
They're going to push us through it because they're not listening to us. Our friends, our family are dying. I had a cousin murdered 20 years ago who was stabbed to death, and nothing's changed, Julia. Keir Starmer, if you're listening to this, please do something. I'm petrified. I've never broken the law in my life. I've been a law-abiding citizen. I've been a civil servant. Please do something. It's us that are dying on the streets. You talk about being racist. We're not racist. My sister's mixed race. I was a white child brought up in a mixed race family. Nothing to do with race.
Exactly.
To do with our safety.
I tell you what, I wrote that eloquent, tried to write that eloquent monologue at the beginning of the show, summing up the sense of dread spreading through this country right now. I shouldn't have bothered. I should have just played Sarah there. Just sums it up, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know anyone who feels safe anymore.
Yeah.
I know that I certainly don't. I mean, I'm from London. I grew up in London.
Me too.
My dad grew up in London in the 50s and 60s when they had all of the sort of gang warfare and whatnot, and he even thinks that London doesn't feel safe anymore.
This country has never been less safe, and what Sarah's said is true. We're begging the Prime Minister to do something about this, and he won't even talk about the murder on Monday that all the nation is pretty traumatised by. Emma Trimble, great to see you again, great hour. James Price, Government Advisor, next.
Majesty. Melania and I are deeply grateful to you and Queen Camilla for your extraordinary graciousness. And to William and Kate, thank you so much. It's been so great being with you today. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. It's a singular privilege to be the first American president welcomed here. The phrase special relationship, seen from American eyes, the word special does not begin to do it justice. We're joined by history and fate, and by love and language. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a great honor to be with you.
Security remains the cornerstone of this special relationship. We have the deepest, most advanced defense relationship in the world.
As I said last night, the bond between our countries is like no other anywhere in the world. The United States and the United Kingdom have done more good on this planet than any two nations in human history.
We are working together to end the humanitarian catastrophe in the Middle East.
The one that I thought would be easiest would be because of my relationship with President Putin, but he's let me down. He's really...
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Good morning, it's 2 minutes past 7. We've been on air for an hour now. Where have you been? If you're just joining us now, we have been dealing with the increasing sense of terror on the streets as more and more asylum seekers are either convicted of or charged with serious offences. The terrible murder of that poor guy, Wayne Broadhurst, 49 years old, just walking his little dog down the street, a quiet residential street in Uxbridge to the west of London on Monday night. Another man, 45-year-old, critically injured, and a 14-year-old boy wounded too. An Afghan national, Safi Dawood, has now been charged with murder and attempted murder following that triple stabbing. But other migrant crimes are coming in, alleged and confirmed, are coming in thick and fast. It is a big problem, a massive problem, and we've just been playing Sarah from Uxbridge, from Hillingdon, near where this murder took place, phoning Julia Hartley Brewer yesterday, a civil servant, worked all her life, worried about her kids, worried about herself, worried about safe, burst into tears, begging Keir Starmer to do something about it. And our big question is, where is this guy? Where is our Prime Minister? Why hasn't he said anything about what happened on Monday? The nation is traumatised by it, and our leader, such as he is, hasn't said a damn word. Don't you think he owes us some kind of statement? I really, really do. And also, he owes us a statement because of this increasing sense that this country is becoming dangerous for the people who live here, as in us. You know, we're fond of saying it's so dangerous now for women and children, particularly if they live near asylum seeker hotels. Well, we found out on Monday, you know, women and children, of course, are always primary in our concerns, but men too. Wayne Broadhurst, in case you didn't notice, was a man. This is a clear and present danger, and we have a Prime Minister, we have a government doing nothing about it, and a Prime Minister who won't even talk about it. That's a disgrace, isn't it? 0344 499 1000. We have other stories too. Rachel Reeves is a lawbreaker. She failed to register as a landlord when she rented out her private home in Dulwich in South London. She's making more than 70 grand a year from it. But it turns out that she broke the law because she should have registered as a landlord. She's apologised to Starmer, and Starmer said, I think your apology draws a line under the matter. You know, that's the way it is. That's what they do in Parliament. They get caught. She got caught by the Daily Mail. They get caught, Then they write a letter to the Prime Minister, I'm terribly sorry, but oversight, just come to my attention. Prime Minister writes back, oh, you've done the decent and honest and honourable thing and we'll draw a line under the matter. Who do they think they're kidding? Who do they think they're kidding? I'm sick of it, aren't you? Corruption, that's what all this is. Also, of course, Reeves is a liar, just like Starmer's a liar. She's a liar because she promised us she would never, ever raise taxes again after her budget from hell last October, where she hit us with the biggest tax grab in modern history, 40 billion quid, ruining the economy, forcing her now to launch another tax grab, massive tax grab at the end of November. If you thought last October was the budget from hell, you wait for the November budget coming up. That is going to take hell to a whole new level. We're now talking about a 2p income tax rise. 2p, that's a lot. I mean, the papers have been going, looks like she could be hitting us with a 1p tax rise. They go, oh my God, not a 1p. It could be twice that. That's massive. That's massive. She's not fit for purpose. This government, ruining the safety of the nation. They've opened our borders. They're not doing anything about it. The Prime Minister's not saying anything about these terrible crimes that these migrants are committing all over the country, either charged with or convicted of. And on this catastrophe goes. It's just getting frightening. Well, let's discuss some of these horrors, if I can put it that way, with former government advisor James Price. Good morning, James.
Speaking of frightening, here's James Price.
Yes,
Great intro. Thanks, Nate.
Speaking of horrific, no, seriously, I mean, we'll get to Rachel in a minute. I want to talk about her 2p tax rise, which is a disgrace. It also turns out she's a lawbreaker. That will be swept under the carpet like these things always are in Westminster. But I do think the priority in terms of today's news agenda is this increasing, I call it a sense of dread spreading through the country, and it concerns all these thousands and thousands and thousands of undocumented foreigners about whom we have this strange policy. They break into our country illegally, they come across on small boats. We're discovering now, by the way, a lot of them are still coming on the back of lorries like they used to. So they break into our country illegally. We don't know anything about it. We have this strange policy of saying, oh, welcome, here's a 4-star hotel, here's £50 a week benefit, free doctors, dentists, lawyers, etc., etc. We've got this strange policy of making this place the land of plenty, the promised land for people who break into it illegally. And I think we're just beginning to realise the terrifying consequences of this. We're looking at now at pictures of this asylum seeker in Walsall, who last week was convicted of the murder of a girl who worked behind the reception at his asylum seeker hotel. He followed her out and stabbed her 23 times with a screwdriver, stabbed her to death, was then filmed whooping and dancing with excitement. Of course, we had this terrible murder on Monday. This poor guy, Wayne Broadhurst, just walking his little dog down a residential side street in suburbia, really, west of London, Uxbridge. Afghan national man who broke into this country illegally on the back of a lorry in 2020, was subsequently given asylum, granted leave to stay. Name of Safi Darwood. He's now been charged with murder and attempted murder following that triple stabbing. So we have to be slightly careful there. But another asylum seeker we learned today, or whose application failed, got into such a temper. This was in Derby. He walked into a branch of Lloyd's Bank and in a temper just stabbed to death a random stranger, a poor guy, a father of 3, shouting F the British, racist white bastards, and so on and so forth. And also another case has cropped up in the last couple. These are just coming thick and fast. A food delivery asylum seeker guy, migrant guy in Maidstone in Kent, sexually assaulted 2 of his customers when they answered the front door. And so on and on it goes. And I think that one thing about this is, when is the Prime Minister going to say a damn word about this? When is he going to say anything about that murder on Monday, about which the nation is traumatised? There's no doubt about it. That murder had a traumatic effect on the nation. No word from the Prime Minister. No word about what he's going to do about this. No word about setting up a reasonable deterrence to try and stop this ongoing invasion of people, too many of whom, not all of course, too many of whom come here and abuse our hospitality by committing the most heinous crimes. When are we going to get something from this government, James?
I'm not sure we are, my friend. I mean, it's almost too depressing to get out of bed when you put it all like this. I hope that people who are listening do still manage to find the fortitude to swing their legs out and get up this morning. It's just awful. And I'm a bit worried that with the speed of this and the frequency of these, as you say, that we're going to become desensitized to it rather than becoming angry about it. You know, we've had this for a long time now. That ghastly, I mean, the song is fine, but the ghastly notion from that Oasis song, "Don't look back in anger." And when the Manchester arena was attacked by an Islamist terrorist who blew up a backpack full of things and killed a load of kids, and the security guard said, well, he did look a bit dodgy, but I didn't want to confront him because I didn't want to be racist. And then we went around saying, oh, you can't look back in anger. And we hear that again and again. It is high time that we look back in anger and we look forward in anger, because otherwise we're not going to survive. I walk my dog around suburban London a couple of times a day. My wife does the same thing. Am I to expect that this is what we now have in London? That part and parcel, as I walk down the street, I might bump into someone I know, might stop for a coffee, and might get stabbed to death by a bloke who broke into the country illegally and was still given indefinite leave to remain, and then it's declared to be an evil, abhorrent thing that we should ever dare to suggest taking away indefinite leave to remain from that person. Enough is enough, as you say. We cannot get desensitized to this. We cannot get desensitized specifically to the fact that this would be really, really simple in some ways to solve. You change the legal regime, you change the legal framework, you send special forces in concert with French special forces to capture or ideally kill the people who run the gangs that send the small boats over, and we re-establish a deterrent like Rwanda, and re-establish the law that Labour got rid of, by the way, that said if you enter this country illegally, you'll never be allowed to stay. And we don't give a monkey's what horrible country you come from. You're going to go back there or you're going to go somewhere else. See, it's actually not that complicated. You can work out the details. You and I have fixed it right now, and lots of people wouldn't have been murdered in cold blood if you and I were in charge right now.
Absolutely. Now, let's talk about our borders. What we need, obviously, a proper deterrence to deter all of these illegal foreigners crossing the channel and breaking into our country, because it's so tempting to them. Obviously, they're going, as the French keep saying, what do you expect us to do? You're offering them the earth. You're offering them the world. You offer them £50 a week benefits. You offer them free 4-star hotels. You offer them free food, free dentists, free doctors, free lawyers, free driving lessons, free video consoles, free trips to the zoo, free trampoline lessons. These are not deterrents. These are enticements. But what is the deterrent that the government's come up with? It is the one-in, one-out scheme, which I'm told has cost us £100 million so far. I think the score was that we got 42 out and 18 had come the other way. It's now 41 out, because one of the ones that we got out got to France on the one-in, one-out scheme, so don't fancy this, made his way back to Calais and then returned on an illegal boat. You couldn't make this stuff up. He, outrageously, is still in the country, and we are hearing now that even the handful of migrants that we... I know. Yeah, if he didn't laugh, he'd cry.
Yeah, exactly.
But we're hearing now, James, that even the handful of migrants that we, at great, enormous expense, that we have got back to France on the one-in, one-out scheme, are all saying we want to go back to Britain because the French won't give us houses. You know, what is this one-in, one-out? What is it supposed to be? It is actually supposed to be a deterrent. They launched the scheme in early August. and it has failed since then. Well, we've got 42 out, or 41 now, and they've sent 18 back to us. Since then, it has failed to deter more than 11,000 illegal migrants from crossing the Channel unlawfully. So it's not a deterrent, it's just an expensive waste of comically useless time, isn't it?
One quick question. The guy who came back again, have we got to accept a second person in from France, right? So the same guy yo-yoing, and is he still in, one out, or does he get his own separate scheme? And I'm no PhD tier mathematician, but if the objective is to reduce the number of illegal people in this country, that 1 in, 1 out, even if it were 1 in, 1 out, doesn't actually reduce the numbers at all. It doesn't do anything. This is the lunacy of this, right? Yeah. We want massive net reduction in the number of people who are here, both legally and especially illegally, because at least then we know nothing about these people, and it's much harder to do. And the insane other story that, as I think trumped all the rest of it, that this guy Hadush Kabatu, who started all of the Epping protests in the first place, who was accidentally released from prison, said, I think in an interview yesterday, he's like, no, I'm meant to stay here. Please keep me, lock me up again. And they still sent him on his way.
But did you hear this new element?
Hours wandering around London on a tourist trip.
But have you heard the new element of this? He gave an interview to Sky News. It beggars belief. So, as you quite rightly say, there's this, it's like a sitcom or something. They release him from Chelmsford Jail last Friday. He keeps going back to the gatehouse and going, you sure about this? I don't think... No, you've been released. So he goes back a second time. No, you're fine, off you go. He goes back 5 times. On the 5th time, an angry guard said, look, for God's sake, the station is just down there on the left. Will you just go? So he finally goes. He gets a train down to London. God knows where he spent the night. Saturday morning, he goes to a police station in London, and he says, I'm Hadush Kabatu, Britain's most famous asylum seeker sex offender. I think they may have released me from jail accidentally. I'm handing myself in. Oh, get out of here. Get out. So they just sent him on his way again. It's unbelievable.
If you weren't guilty of really, really, very, truly, seriously horrendous crimes, as you say, it would be like a sitcom. It is almost funny how useless we are as a country at dealing with these things. Yes. Absolutely bonkers. The one bit that gets me is that he has now been deported, and I think it was reported he was given about 500
quid because he threatened to kick up a storm if they didn't. So we go, oh yeah, all right, then here's some money.
Right, but this shows then, so he didn't actually serve the sentence that he was meant to serve. Obviously, he never would have done that. He didn't even serve the half of the sentence he was given that you might expect.
He did about a month.
An illegal criminal who sexually assaulted a child and a woman. But this does show, why don't we just go to these people and say, listen, right, fair play, you managed to get here. Here's £1,000, right, and a plane ticket. Now, F off, and if you ever come again, we're going to shoot you. I think that may be too generous, giving them £1,000, but it seems to work in the case of this guy, that he's just gone. And actually, these people don't seem to have a pretty good grasp on these things. Give them a few quid and say, if you ever come back, you get shot. I think that would be a pretty reasonable suggestion.
I think the shooting thing might be a sort of rather draconian, but I agree with the spirit of what you're saying.
If you break into a military site, or if you break into various other government installations, you should face these things. Any other country in the world should do. In Britain, we don't seem to. But I think there needs to be a strong level of deterrence.
Yeah, I think what people are asking, Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary, boasting about how I've pulled every lever to get this guy out of the country really quickly, aren't I? Great. Well, first of all, we've got a returns deal with Ethiopia, so it's not that difficult. If Hadush Kabatu came from a country without a returns deal, he would still be here, I'll guarantee you that, surrounded by human rights lawyers. But she's boasting about that. Oh, I moved so fast on this. So people are saying, hang on a second, we've got all these other asylum seeker rejects all over the country who never seem to leave. They just appeal again, keep appealing until they succeed. And also we've got more than 10,000 foreigners in our prisons, our chronically overcrowded prisoners. If you're so great and so brilliant at getting people out of the country, deporting them, pulling every lever as you boasted, why can't you do it with these 10,000 foreign lawbreakers currently in our jails? Free up some cell space, then you wouldn't have to keep releasing murderers and rapists early, would you? How about that?
Quite. Or what about the 1.9 million people who live in the United Kingdom who are foreigners who live on benefits, right? That dwarfs the 10,000 prisoners. This is lunacy. We cannot take in all the people in the world who have had a difficult life or who had difficult conditions and all the rest of it, right? Global capitalism is pulling millions and millions and millions of people out of extreme poverty all the time, and that's a wonderful thing. The world is unrecognizable than it has been for a long time. That will keep on going and we should encourage that. But in the meantime, we cannot take people, even with legitimate concerns. There are no housing, there's no school spaces. Clearly, there are massive cultural incompatibilities that politicians are too scared to talk about. And Katie Lamb, the Conservative MP, should be massively praised for talking about how we should end up with a country that is largely a culturally coherent group of people. Nothing about race in there, nothing else. But we should definitely be having those kind of conversations as well. And I dare say that someone going and killing a random stranger with a screwdriver, not terribly culturally compatible. Something has to be done about this. It's a choice. We're choosing not to.
Exactly right. And just before we go to break, there's Rachel Reeves, front page of the Daily Mail, illegally rented out her own family home. This is what they always call, euphemistically in Westminster, an oversight. So she's been caught by the Mail. She's got this nice house in Dulwich, nice area of South London, which she's rented out for more than 70 grand a year, 3 grand a month, something like that. But she apparently makes 70 grand a year out of it. And in the borough of Dulwich, you're supposed to register as a landlord in order to prove that it's fireproof and safe and all that. She didn't do that. So she's broken the law. She's been found out. She immediately wrote to Starmer saying, oh, this has been well, you've done the honourable and decent, honest thing, as I know you always would, and I believe that your apology is enough, and we draw a line under the matter right here and now, as they do in Westminster. But, you know, this is a guy, Prime Minister, who, as he was coming to power, or while he was attacking the Tories, piously announced lawmakers cannot be lawbreakers. If there was any integrity in this government at all, if Rachel Reeves had any integrity, if Starmer had any integrity, she'd have to walk the plank, wouldn't she?
Yeah, 100%. She should. But I mean, politically, I'm almost glad that she won't go, because however useless she is and however much she's lied on her CV, however damaging her last budget was, however damaging her next budget's going to be, she's still got more private sector experience than anybody else in that party, and I'm pretty terrified who else they get to come in. You talk about 2p on the pound. I think that Rachel Reeves probably thinks that it's only 2p per person, rather than that being reflective of the broader increase that it is. If only Boris Johnson had thought, I'll just write a letter saying I draw a line under the matter of eating a bit of cake in Downing Street. We could have avoided a lot of pain, right? But these people are so damn holier than thou. You live by these ridiculous regulations that shouldn't exist. You should fall on your sword about it. Yeah. And we've had a corruption minister get done for corruption, a homelessness minister get done for making people homeless, transport minister done for fraud. We've had the housing secretary get done for having too many houses. It's absolutely ludicrous that these people dare look themselves in the mirror and think that they're the good guys. It's disgraceful.
Exactly right. Not very socialist either, is it? Making
no,
all your money. Yeah,
damn hypocrites every time, right?
Yeah.
Every time. What is it Margaret Thatcher said? The problem with socialism is eventually you run out of other people's money.
Exactly right. Let's go to break. We'll do some more stories when we come back.
This Justice Secretary could not deport the only small boat migrant who who tried to be deported. Yes. Having been mistakenly released, Hadush Kabatu came back to prison asking to be deported, not once, not twice, but 5 times. But he was turned away. Calamity Lammy strikes again.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Well, I should have said goodbye to James Price there. James Price, a former Tory government advisor. Very good 20 minutes from him. Now, let's welcome to the show on another important issue. It sounds small, but it's not. There's this scourge in this country right now. More and more people are getting these on-the-spot fines from local council jobs worths. You know, for things like, you saw the story last week of the lady waiting at a bus stop in Richmond in West London, and the bus was coming along. She thought, well, I won't take my hot coffee onto the bus, mates. So she poured it down the drain. Somebody goes, oi, 150 quid fine. The BBC, I hate to give credit to the BBC, but it did a good job last night. It did a load of these people. I happened to watch the report. There was another lady who's been fined £100 walking through a park with her dog, and a council jobs worth comes over. You've got a poo bag for your dog. The dog, by the way, was not, making a mess. It was not in the process of defecating or anything. She's just walking along. The guy says, "You've got a poo bag for your dog?" And she said, "Oh, actually, I forgot. I haven't got one of them." Right, £100. The dog, not making a mess, fined £100 because she didn't have a poo bag in her pocket. Another guy comes up on this one takes the biscuit. He's walking down the road with a friend. She had a punnet of strawberries. He said, "Want a strawberry?" She said, "Yeah, thanks." So he ate the strawberry. He had a little, the stalk, the green bit at the end. He looks around for a bin, couldn't see one, saw a drain, put it down the drain. £100 fine. This has got to stop. I'm going to talk now to a regular, one of our favourite guests, but a man who has experienced this scourge of petty crime, a man who used to be a crime buster himself. He is former Met Police Detective Peter Blexley. Peter, tell us what happened to you.
A few months ago, I pulled into Waterloo Railway Station, having had quite a long journey, and being a foolish smoker, I was desperate to light one up. So I came out the front of Waterloo Station, had a cigarette, and then looked around for a bin. And I could not find one anywhere. So what I did was I popped my cigarette end down the drain. And someone out of nowhere appeared in front of me with his body-worn video running and his uniform and his machine, and he issued me a £100 on-the-spot fine. My wife was livid when I got home, and let's face it, I'd not been best pleased. So I now carry a pouch with me everywhere I go, into which I can put my cigarette ends if I don't find a bin.
What was, when this guy with the photo cam and all that fine? What was your crime? What did he say? What offence was it you're supposed to have committed there?
It apparently is an offence to dispose of a cigarette butt down a drain. Now, all right, I kind of see where he's coming from, but the way
I don't.
but I mean, the way he'd hidden himself. I wasn't trying to make the environment messier or dirtier. I thought a bin, the drain, in the absence of a bin, was the next best option. but he just was there in front of me in the blink of an eye, and with relish, he started typing my details out. I mean, quite obviously, I kept my hands in my pockets, but I was not very happy with him, let's say that. I didn't give him a hard time. He worked for Lambeth Council. And what these people are doing, all these other cases you mentioned, they're just revenue collecting.
Revenue raising, revenue raising.
They are preying on decent, law-abiding members of society who work, pay their taxes, contribute, and they are alienating them. This is the bigger issue. They are alienating us. They are seen as the establishment. They're uniformed. They are. And it creates this greater divide between us and the establishment. And that leads to a low-trust society. And in low-trust societies, very bad things happen.
Just before you go, Peter, you know, as a former copper, I mean, are these people on the spot fines? They come up to you, in effect, they accuse you, they prosecute you, convict you, and fine you in the blink of an eye. Is that legal? Surely you should have the right to appeal.
Yes, I suspect so, and they are empowered to do it. In fact, the lady who poured the dregs of her coffee down the drain did get her fine set aside. And this lady, without having the poo bag, is ridiculous, but it just goes to show how little these law enforcement people know about society. To any police officer out there, or somebody thinking of joining the police, dog walkers are lovely. They adore their pets. They're caring people. They speak to one another. They are the eyes and ears of a community, and many, many crimes have been solved by dogs finding murder corpses, weapons, guns, all manner of things. Keep the dog walkers on side. They're wonderful and they're important.
Absolutely. And lastly, I mean, what is the legality of it? I mean, can a council just say, right, you are now working for us and you can go out fining people? I mean, have I got the right to say, who the hell are you? You know, you just work for the council. If you, in your days as a copper, come up to me and say, hello, I'm a Metropolitan Police detective, I respect you and I respect your right to enforce the law. Do I have to respect the right of some council jobs worth to enforce the law?
Well, if you refuse to give your details or you walk away ignoring that enforcement officer, I strongly suspect they will get on the radio and you will soon be flagged down,
by a cop,
quite possibly by a rather unhappy police officer. Who would
He's got better things to do.
Yeah.
Exactly right. Well, Peter, I'm sorry about your brush with the law there, but, you know, some of us go wrong sometimes, don't we, as you well know. Peter, thanks very much for that. Good to talk to you as always, mate. That's Peter Blexley, former Met Police detective who had his own experience of, in an extremely minor way breaking the law, dropped a cigarette down a drain, got £100 fine by one of these council jobs. So it is becoming a real scourge in this nation, and I think we've got to stop it. As Peter just said, this is just blatant revenue raising, like minor traffic offences, like the fact they brought the traffic speed down to 20 miles an hour. That's because they can do more people. I got done recently. Shouldn't be done for speeding for 24 miles an hour, should you? But I did. I got, what did I get? £100 fine and 3 points on my licence. 24 miles an hour. It's ridiculous, but that is to raise revenue. Let me know what you think about that, folks. 0344 499 1000. When we come back, a very good guest we got next, Andrew, Prince Andrew, the Royal Lodge. Is he going to get out? Well, there is a Public Accounts Committee in Parliament that deals with all this, and they are currently examining Prince Andrew's domestic circumstances and whether or not he should reside in this massive home, and I think probably looking at his finances generally. So the chair of the Public Accounts Committee and also the Conservative MP for North Cotswolds, Sir Geoffrey Clifton Brown, will join us after the break. Stick around.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. We need to talk about Prince Andrew, his domestic arrangements, living in that massive royal lodge, 30 rooms. Used to be the home of the Queen Mother. He's been living there now for, I think, the best part of 22 years. Doesn't pay any rent, peppercorn rent. Paid a lot of money to have the place refurbished. Got a lease, I think, until 2078, but there is enormous pressure to get him out of that place because it just doesn't seem right. We don't know where he gets all of his money from. The whole thing is very, very murky. We know the King wants him out. Prince William wants him out. But he has dug his heels in and he won't move. This has now become a political issue, and in the House of Commons, the Public Accounts Committee has contacted the Crown Estate to find out exactly what is going on, because in the end there's public money involved here. You know, we help fund royalty. Royalty is in effect providing Prince Andrew with this residence, and the public has a right to know exactly what's going on, because Prince Andrew's life, his finances, his murky affairs are becoming more and more worrying. Some people are saying, or even saying, that he may have in the future to go to jail. That possibly is in the future. But let's talk to the chair of that committee, the Public Accounts Committee. He's also the Tory MP for North Cotswolds, Sir Geoffrey Clifton Brown. Good morning, Geoffrey.
Good morning. Great to be on your show.
Thank you for joining us. Well, this is a strange case for your committee to have to be dealing with, but it is a case of great public concern. It's concerning the King, it concerns the nation, and as such, it's quite right that it concerns the government or Parliament too. You've written to as the chairman of the Public Accounts Committee, you've written saying there is considerable and understandable public interest in the spending of public money in relation to Prince Andrew, which in part stems from the fact that he is no longer a working royal and from serious and disturbing allegations made against him. That's at the heart of it, isn't it, Sir Geoffrey? This guy isn't a working royal. He's in disgrace, and yet he seems to still be living off the fat of the land and his position of privilege. What is it that you would like to see to happen to Prince Andrew?
Well, we've written a detailed letter to the Crown Estate Commissioners, who basically look after all the royal property, and when I say the property, the Crown Estate property. We've asked for several different assurances in relation to the lease, as you say, one of which is whether Prince Andrew, now in his current circumstances, since these dire allegations have emerged, whether it is still a suitable accommodation for him to be living in. I think that's the thrust of the first one. The second thing we want to know is whether, when the lease was entered into in 2003, whether it was on proper commercial terms. And the third thing we want to know is whether the property is being properly maintained, because he's obliged to do that. All the repairs and everything are carried out. There are a number of other things, but those are the main things.
The Crown Estate, is that funded publicly, partly or fully?
It's the money fully goes to the Treasury. And therefore it needs to be run on proper commercial lines, and therefore we need to make sure, as guardians of, or as the scrutineers, if you like, of all public spending on behalf of the taxpayer and Parliament, we need to be sure that there was no soft terms in the lease. Somehow he was getting Windsor Lodge below what would be available to any normal commercial negotiated tenant.
Yes, so there is the taxpayers have a stake in this, whether or not they are getting value for money but from the way the Crown Estate is being run, specifically in this case in relation to Royal Lodge and Prince Andrew living there. Are we, the taxpayers, getting value for our money in terms of his domestic arrangement? Is that at the crux of this issue?
That is the crux of the issue. We will obviously hope that the Crown Estate Commissioners and the Treasury reply to us by the end of November. We will obviously then examine the contents of that reply very carefully to make sure that they are giving us the answers to the questions, detailed questions that we've put to them.
And are they responding to your inquiries efficiently and to your satisfaction? Do they appreciate the gravity of this situation? Because I think it's pretty clear that the King does, that King Charles is desperate to get this guy out. But are you satisfied that the Crown Estate are as concerned and worried as the King and indeed the citizens of this country are?
Well, I would be very surprised if they don't reply fully to our letter. Of course, it's only early days yet. It only went out yesterday. But I would be very surprised in that case. As you say, I am absolutely certain that the royal family are very concerned about this whole issue. When you get Prince Charles or King Charles going out to a function and he starts getting heckled by the crowd on this issue,
yes,
this becomes very serious. If I had been him, I would have been very displeased and concerned if that had happened to me. So I'm sure he will be exactly the same.
Never happened to you, Sir Geoffrey, but what I was going to ask you, not just as the chairman of the Public Accounts Committee, but as an MP, a prominent MP, if I may say so, a veteran MP, and also a citizen of this country, I think we have cause to really worry about Prince Andrew and indeed his ex-wife Fergie, Sarah Ferguson, in terms of the damage they are doing to our royal family. I seriously think that unless something is done to sort this man out, this awful lying oaf who happens by birthright to be a member of the royal family, unless something is done about him, unless something is done to reorganise his domestic arrangements and to somehow shut him up and get him out of our sight, the damage to our royal family could be existential.
Well, I understand absolutely those sentiments, and I share some of them. And of course, what we must always remember in all of this is the poor victims of the alleged, if it's alleged offences. So, I mean, they are very heinous allegations, really. And I totally agree with you. There is reputational damage here to the royal family. You're finding that people are more and more saying, well, you know, is it right to have the royal family? But that's a different matter. But it's not helping the reputation and standing of the royal family at all.
And you know, you've been around a few years, so have I. Are you, you know, again, as a citizen of this country, are you shocked that it's come to this? We have the Queen's favourite son, the King's younger brother, standing accused of sexually abusing a 17-year-old girl on 3 different continents, venally grifting and scrounging off a convicted paedophile, lying about his continued friendship with her. Fergie, Sarah Ferguson, same lie. Oh, I'm never talking to him again. Turns out she was. Because they didn't really care that he was a convicted paedophile. What they cared about was that he had $1 billion and they could scrounge some of it. Are you shocked that a member of the royal family could behave in this way?
Yes, these are terrible allegations, and there is no doubt about it that it's not good for the monarchy. It's not good for the reputation of the country. So I think the royal family will be doing everything they can to try and resolve this matter, and as you say, try and really basically reduce the profile of the Prince Andrew, so that he plays, you know, he doesn't keep popping up. Because this is the worst thing, you know, we just think that one allegation has been covered off and then another allegation pops up. So I think you're absolutely right. The royal family need to deal with this matter.
They certainly do. Well, keep us posted about your letter to the Crown Estate. We'll be in touch with you. Very good to talk to you, Sir Geoffrey. Thank you very much for your time. Sir Geoffrey Clifton-Brown, MP, their chair of the Public Accounts Committee. This has now become a parliamentary issue. You know, Prince Andrew's weird domestic arrangements. Why is he still living there? He lives in this massive mansion in the shadow, if you like, of Windsor Castle, Windsor Great Park. Buckshee, peppercorn rent. Now, these are the privileges of the royal family. These are the privileges of status. He doesn't have any status anymore. We need to sort this guy out. The king needs to sort this guy out. His solutions so far are not good enough. Now, on a much lighter note, royally, talking about the royal family, old Harry, the Britain's or the royal family's second worst prince, Prince Harry, he's over in America, of course. He went to the LA Dodgers game last night with Meghan, his wife, but he gave an interview to an American comedian, and the American comedian was trying to teach him how to speak with an American accent. Have a look at this.
How's your yeehaw?
It's not a bad attempt at it. He's lived there long enough. I mean, I lived there for 10 years or so. And I think the day I realised I got to come back, I mean, I was sort of starting to say faucet instead of taps, hood instead of bonnet, all that kind of gas instead of petrol, and so on and so forth. All the words become part of your vernacular. But then, you know, I started to say things like, you got any ranch dressing and things like this. Oh, my God, I just said something American, because it does infect you. So... maybe it's time that Harry came back. Oh, no, don't. Stay where you are, please. Next up, we're going to talk to Ben Pyle, writer and co-founder of Climate Debate UK, about our ongoing net zero, fasten the big climate change jaunt, juggernaut, jolly next month, COP30 over in Brazil. What a joke that is. That next, stay tuned.
The reason why the government was conned and the political class was conned, because they used blackmail, emotional blackmail, moral blackmail, which is, if you don't do this stuff, you are going to destroy the planet.
Think of the
You're
children,
ruining your.
think of
it's
the
for the
children.
kids and your grandkids and all that nonsense. It's just pure blackmail, and that's what made it happen. So anyone who said, put a question mark over this, oh, you're imperiling the future of the planet.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I've got about the silly little fines and getting done for speeding for doing 20.5 miles an hour. Loads of texts coming in about this. I'll read just one. I'll read some more later. This is from Roger in Hounslow. I was done for doing 24 miles an hour in a 20-mile-an-hour zone at 2:30 a.m. on a road with a cemetery on one side and an industrial estate on the other. Ridiculous. That's it. That's it. I mean, as I say, I've just been done. £100 and 3 points. 24 miles an hour. Come on. That's just me. But seriously, this is just revenue raising, folks. It's revenue raising. Heard about one boroughs to reduce their speed limit to 10 miles an hour. You're going to get overtaken by pedestrians if you're doing that. You know, what's the point of having a car if you're only allowed to drive at 10 miles an hour? Unbelievable. That is to nick you. That is to fine you. That is to raise revenue. It's the American way. They do it over there as well. Right, let's move on. Let's talk about, well, the ongoing joke of comedy, joke, idiot, mad, crazy Ed Miliband, our net zero nutter. 7% of voters think that Ed Miliband's net zero crusade will reduce their bills. Well, that's not surprising, is it? Because he said, oh, I'm going to bring your bills down by £300. They've gone up by £300 and they're rising. Net zero is going to not only make our bills, it's already made our bills the highest energy bills in the entire world, 5 times higher than America. And it's going to get worse and worse and worse. And by the way, along the way, it's going to ruin our economy. Ed Miliband is a clear and present danger to this country. Let's talk to writer and co-founder of the Climate Debate UK, Ben Pyle. Ben, good morning. Morning. Ed Miliband, he's mad, isn't he?
Who knows what's going on in Ed Miliband's head? I don't know if I really want to know. I think we've just got to close that stuff down and get rid of him. I think it's very interesting. He's been, since he was last in office, he's been going on about all the good that these these regulations, these policies are going to do. As I said, they're going to create green jobs, they're going to create green industries, and green growth, and so on and so forth, and unicorns and rainbows and all the fluffy stuff is going to come. But the only thing about the agenda that the last Labour government introduced, which the Climate Change Act, which was later turned into net zero by the Tories, the only thing that's enforceable about it is the targets, not the promises, not the jobs, not the growth, not the industries, none of which have been delivered, funnily enough. And so this has been rolling on for 20 years with lots of people from outside of that cosy political consensus saying this isn't going to happen, this is irrational. It's fundamentally at odds with physics, it's fundamentally at odds with economics, and it's fundamentally at odds with the interests of bill payers, of voters and consumers, and it's going to cost them. And sure enough, over that 20 years, bills have risen 3 or 4 times, jobs have actually been lost, industries have moved overseas, and we're now really starting to see that reality is dawning, not just on the general public, but even on the people who push this stuff.
Yeah,
even Bill Gates.
Yeah, I totally agree. And even Ed Miliband admitted a couple of days ago, oh, wind power isn't quite as efficient as we thought. You don't say. Next thing you'll be telling me it's not always sunny in Britain, so maybe solar panels aren't such a great idea either. Meanwhile, Bill Gates, that great proponent of climate change disaster, has now admitted that climate change does not pose a threat to humanity. Yeah. Donald Trump saying, I win. So all of a sudden, these fanatics are beginning to concede that their mania, their insanity about this net zero religion is not well founded.
That's right. And I think I mean, it's all very well and good to do a U-turn, and it's great that the Conservatives have finally found the courage and the brains, perhaps, to do that. But there's a much deeper question here about how that false prospectus was sold, who by and to whom, and in what circumstances for all those 20 years. I mean, we've faced. I mean, this is an enlightened news broadcast station, but others have been ramming this stuff down the public's throat really quite forcefully, and even lobbying to get free conversations like this.
By the way, Ben, we've got to get you on next week about COP30, that swirling mass of international hypocrisy. Great to talk to you for now, though. Bye-bye, Ben Pyle there. Next up, Isabella Oakeshott. Stay tuned for that.
I can announce this government will begin the biggest sustained increase in defence spending since the end of the Cold War. We will deliver our commitment to spend 2.5% of GDP on defence, but we will bring it forward so we reach that level in 2027.
The answer from European capitals has been as resounding as it is clear. We are in an era of rearmament to respond to the short-term urgency to act and to support Ukraine, but also to address the long-term need to take on more responsibility for our own European security.
On Saturday, we also agreed a new £2.2 billion loan for Ukraine, backed not by the British taxpayer, but by the profits from frozen Russian assets. It is my pleasure to bring from His Majesty the King a letter. He sends his best wishes and his regards, of course, but he also asked me to bear this letter and bring it to you. So can I present the letter from the King to you?
Thank you very much. Am I supposed to read it right now?
Yeah, please do.
I will do.
I've got to tell him what your reaction is, so I need to know. I need to know.
He is a great gentleman. A great, great gentleman. He said he thinks the war's going to go on for a long time, and he better not be right. Well, I just think he should be more appreciative, because this country has stuck with them through thick and thin. We've given them much more than Europe, and Europe should have given more than us, because, as you know, that's right there, that's the border.
What kind of diplomacy, JD, you are speaking about? What do you mean?
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you are not
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media.
You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. It's 8 o'clock. I've been on air for 2 hours. We've got 2 more hours to go. And in this hour, coming up in about 20 minutes, we're going to talk to Martina Bett, political correspondent at The Sun. Nigel Farage has got a good column in The Sun today. I think it's on page 10. The Sun's running a campaign saying save our bets. Because, of course, we've got this socialist government who think that all gambling is bad. You know, all the victims, gambling addicts. Well, of course, that's a bad. But there are very few pleasures in life that don't carry some downsides, and you have to quantify that. And yeah, of course, gambling addiction is a terrible thing, but for all the pleasure that millions of people get out of it, you know, whose lives are not at all ruined, in fact they're enhanced by it, all of that, you know, don't ban everything. They're such killjoys, socialists, aren't they? So Nigel Farage has written about that. The Sun's running a campaign about that. We'll talk to the Sun's Martina Bett, political correspondent, about all that in just a little while. Then writer and commentator Connor Tomlinson will join us. We need to talk about Axel Ruda-Cabana, I suppose. No, seriously, there's an inquiry going on, and it's emerging. What is emerging from that inquiry into, of course, his horrific murders in Southport, the dance floor murders, is that his parents, Rwandan migrants, they knew what a monster they had on their hands, and they tried to cover it up. They urged social services not to report their monster of a son. So the idea that somehow they're quite innocent mum and dad, you know, unaware of what their kid was doing in his bedroom with rice in poison and all that sort of stuff, and Al-Qaeda training manual and so on and so forth. The idea they knew nothing about this is becoming more and more difficult to believe. So it actually does feed into our rising concerns about our migrant crisis. You know, we let more and more people into this country. Is that any good for this country? You know, in the case of Ruda-Cabana, you'd have to say not really, no. So all that to come this hour, but before we get to that, let's go over to Talk's brilliant international editor. Again, still trying to get used to talking to her during the daytime while the sun's out. It is a nice day in London, looking out today. Unusual. But yes, welcome Isabel Oakshire. Hi, Isabel.
Good morning. And you were raising the question there about whether it's a good idea to allow wave after wave of people we know nothing about to come into our country. And I was dismayed to open the papers this morning to yet another truly appalling case of a murder committed by an asylum seeker who'd actually only been in our country for quite a short period before he went on a murderous rampage and randomly killed a restaurateur. And like our own papers, the Mail today asks the question, how much longer will the safety of the British people be endangered by this system? And I just feel people are in absolute despair over this, because every day when we allow more to cross over the channel illegally, and also in the backs of lorries, as you and I were discussing yesterday, we increase the possibility of this happening again. I'm actually going to go further than that. I don't think it's a possibility. It's a probability. And, you know, if you bring in a certain number of these people from very, very troubled places and very, very disturbed backgrounds, I'd say it's a near certainty that they're going to do dreadful things.
Yeah, I think we're reaching a kind of critical mass on all of this, and the people are very, very concerned. It's been brought to a head, of course, by that terrible murder on Monday, about which we now have to be legally very careful, because an Afghani asylum seeker has been charged with a triple attempted murder, and that triple stabbing. But I think the concerns that reverberated through the nation, there's Paul Wayne Broadhurst, nice happy guy, worked for the local council, popular, just walking his little dog down a suburban side street Monday afternoon, 5 p.m, ends up getting stabbed to death in a brutal frenzied attack. People going, what the hell is going on? Then the authorities, fair play to them, they don't try and keep this secret anymore. They announce that the suspect, the person arrested on suspicion of this horrific murder, was a Afghani migrant who arrived here illegally on the back of a lorry 5 years ago and was subsequently allowed to stay under our ludicrously lenient asylum system. People going, what the hell is going on? Be careful about that case, because now we need to let the legal process take its course. But meanwhile, we find out that, or we remember just last week, another asylum seeker in Walsall. He was convicted in Wolverhampton Crown Court last week of brutally, viciously murdering a poor girl who worked behind the reception at his asylum seeker hotel, followed her out of the hotel and stabbed her 23 times with a screwdriver, and then was filmed dancing around and whooping with excitement. We also find out that there's a migrant, a Somalian, who was furious that his asylum seeker, very rare this one, Isabel, that his asylum seeker application was refused, and in a temper he walked into Lloyd's Bank in Derby and stabbed a total stranger, a random victim, to death. In fury, shouting about, F the British, and we're all racist, we're white racists, and so on and so forth. And then went out and tried to hurl himself in front of the traffic, but was arrested. We're looking now at that poor girl who was stabbed from that hotel in Walsall, stabbed to death. Look at her. Why does she doesn't deserve to be dead, for God's sake. We also find out today that another migrant asylum seeker down in Maidstone in Kent, he's doing that job they love to do, delivering food, delivers food to 2 women, is now awaiting sentence for, they answer the door, he sexually assaults them. And on this goes. Now, back in the summer, 2 newspapers, The Sun and the Mail, revealed that there were hundreds of asylum seekers around the country in the hundreds of hotels in which we billet them, who are awaiting trial, having been charged with serious offences, hundreds of them. Now we're beginning to witness some of the convictions. So we're now talking about hundreds of migrants who we let into the country, don't know anything about them. Most of them are young men of sexually active age, military age, don't know anything about it. We let them in, put them in these hotels, they get charged with these crimes, and now some of them are beginning to be convicted of them. So we are palpably beginning to experience the results of, what is it now, 15, 16 years of terrible governments who opened our borders and just said, it's fine for all these people about whom we know nothing to come into the country. Let's put them in nice 4-star hotels, give them benefits, give them food, free lawyers, free doctors, free dentists, and so on and so forth. In other words, making them welcome. These governments, they've got some serious questions to answer. I said earlier in my monologue, I mean, the thing I want to say to them is, what have you done?
Yeah. What have you done? You know, this is such an act of national self-harm by successive governments. They are killing our nation. I'm not saying that ill-advisedly. This is destroying us from within. It's destroying us because it is setting people apart. It is creating resentment and division and fear. And of course, we always have to say that some of those who come over are good people, and they have a right to seek a better life for themselves, and we encourage that by creating such an attraction to come here. But the reality is that we are bringing people in from the worst trouble spots in the world. We are bringing people in who do not speak so much as a word of English, not even enough to say which country they're from. We are bringing people in who don't even know how to use a knife and fork, and I'll be bringing forward some evidence of the scale of the cultural gap with the people that we are allowing to cross the channel. And then we expect this all to go okay? I mean, really? And then when they do terrible things in our country and innocent people die, we've created ourselves a 10 or 15 year taxpayer crisis, because we then have to put those people through our judicial system, and we then have to go through a long palaver attempting to get them sent back to their countries of origin. More often than not, unless the crime is truly heinous, they stay in the UK, they play the system, in some cases literally for decades. What bit of this makes any sense whatsoever for the British public? None of it. So how? What an absolute outrage that successive prime ministers have allowed it to continue. And I am sick already of hearing how hard as nails Shabana Mahmood is. Where does that reputation come from? What is it based on? Absolutely nothing.
She's as useless as the last one. She's so hard as nails. In order to persuade Hadush Gabatu, a paedophile sex offender, to get onto a plane to be repatriated to his home country, Ethiopia, with whom we have a returns deal, so it's not difficult. Shabana Mahmood agreed that he should be given 500 quid because he said he was going to kick up a storm otherwise. She's not tough. She's useless. So was Yvette Cooper. So has every Home Secretary for the past 15 years been utterly useless. They're the people responsible for this shambles, this dangerous shambles we're experiencing right now. One other point, you mentioned Prime Ministers there, Isabel. It's fair to say, it's not fair to say, it's true to say, that murder on Monday night traumatised the nation. Traumatised the nation.
Again.
Where is a statement, any word whatsoever from our excuse for a Prime Minister? He's supposed to be our nation's leader. Why doesn't he show some leadership and say something? It's a disgrace, don't you think?
It is a total dereliction of duty, but it is no more, no less than we have come to expect from a supposed leader who is totally out of touch with how the nation feels. Remember how long it took him to really do or say anything particularly meaningful about the Axel Ruda-Cabana case, all the while he led a system that deliberately tried to mislead us about
keep secrets. Yeah, exactly.
Indeed that. And you know, look, people are at breaking point with this. You know, am I going to wake up tomorrow to find another innocent person has been murdered, another young girl sexually assaulted? Or in all likelihood, yes. Or else something has happened, we don't hear about it because it's going to take another year for it to go through the courts. We cannot go on like this. And here's the exasperating thing. We're going to be made to go on like this. So in the meantime, I don't want to hear any more about how Shabana Mahmood is a self-styled terminator. And she starts terminating the problem, which is these illegal crossings and the other illegal immigration, then as far as I'm concerned, she's no more than a little muppet.
Absolutely, absolutely right. Hard as nails, my backside. Right, just before you go, Isabel, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves, is going to break her promise not to tax us more next month in her budget from hell. We're now learning today, thanks to the Telegraph, that the income tax rise that she's planning isn't 1p, is 2p. Unbelievable. So she's going to break her promises there, but privately, turns out she's broken the law. Never mind breaking her promises, she's broken the law. She rented out her private home in Dulwich in South London, nice area, for making herself about 70 grand a year in rent, apparently. And she's supposed to take out a licence to be a landlord, in that borough of Dulwich, and she hasn't done so. So now she's been found out by the Daily Mail, has written the standard issue letter to Keir Starmer. So I'm sorry, as oversight, it's been brought to my attention. I've immediately taken steps to resolve this situation, and of course will pay the £900 for my licence. Keir Starmer writes back, "Oh, it's you have done the decent and honourable thing, and under the circumstances, I think your apology is enough to draw a line under the matter." And there goes the Westminster merry-go-round, constantly allowing corruption on the part of MPs and ministers. Happens all the time. This Prime Minister said lawmakers can't be lawbreakers. In a decent world, if this Chancellor had any integrity, if this Prime Minister had any integrity, if this government had any integrity, Rachel Reeves would have to walk the plank, wouldn't she?
Well, I mean, I have a slightly different slant on this. You know, why the hell should people have to go and get a license?
Well, they just do. She should know the law. She's the look. That's a different issue. She's the Chancellor of the Exchequer. She should know the law. She shouldn't be in this position.
You didn't let me finish. They created or allowed a system in which people have to fill out reams of stupid, pathetic, unnecessary paperwork. So therefore, they should have to do it too. And unless they're having to do it too, they don't realise what a waste of time and money it is because they're just dodging it. So I hate that. But even more, I hate the fact that they look to be about to break a manifesto pledge on income tax. Now, income tax, as everyone knows, it affects everyone who actually bothers to get out of bed and do a job. What they're not probably planning to do is reduce benefits in any shape or form. And they seem to think that you can go on taxing ordinary hardworking people as well as the so-called rich, on and on and on, tax. And that doesn't have an effect on the whole economy, a negative effect if you're just spending on welfare and other non-growth related areas. This is absolutely a doom spiral. And I genuinely despair about where we're going with this.
Totally right, Isabel. The reason she has to tax the backsides of us, break her promise next month, now we're hearing 2p in the pound, which is phenomenal. The reason she has to break her promise is because of her dreadful budget last October, which completely killed the economy and created a new £50 billion black hole in our finances, all down to Rachel from accounts. That's why she's got to tax us again. And we are, as you quite rightly say, in an economic doom loop. It is an utter disaster. Isabel, always great to talk to you, and still surprising to talk to you during the day, but we'll do it again soon. That's Isabel Oakeshott, our excellent international editor here at Talk. When we come back, yes, it's time to talk to Martina Bett, political correspondent of The Sun. Lots in that excellent paper to discuss when we come back.
if we start a process where we're paying people like this who are foreign criminals, that's the difference here. One thing, being economical and incentivising people to go that are here to save the British taxpayer money. There's some common sense in that approach. There is no common sense in providing a financial incentive for somebody to go and commit a crime, go to prison for a few months, and then be released and then be paid a huge sum of money to us, £500, in Ethiopia, in Eritrea, in other countries. It is an enormous amount of money.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Right, let's talk about what's in Britain's brightest best-selling newspaper, The Sun, this morning. And let's go straight over to that paper's political correspondent, Martina Bett. Welcome, Martina.
Good morning.
Good morning. Well, let's kick off with Nigel Farage. I know it's a campaign of your paper, and I'm right behind it personally. Nigel Farage has written a piece for you on page 14. There it is. And the headline is, "Who voted for this government to be our pleasure police? Stick up for your punter." Now, this is the Sun's Save Our Bets campaign, because our socialist government, being miserable left-wingers, as they always are, the only thing they ever see, if they see people in a pub, they start thinking, oh, the scourge of alcoholism. They don't think about the people enjoying a pint and the people who get a lot of pleasure out of a drink in their local. It's always the downside. When they see people gambling, putting a flutter on a horse or a dog or whatever, oh, gambling addiction, it's just one of the great scourges of the nation. Now, of course, every pleasure tends to have a downside. But if you take drinking, most people get a lot of pleasure out of drinking. It does them no harm whatsoever. In fact, it's good for them. It's good for their mental health. You take betting, same deal. Yes, you have some victims. Gambling addiction is a terrible thing. It ruins lives. But it's a tiny, tiny minority, and we should do our best to help those people. But we shouldn't sort of cancel betting because a very small minority suffer because of it, because most people, millions of people, enjoy betting. And it does them no harm at all. And as Nigel Farage says, the government seems to have appointed itself as our pleasure police. We didn't vote for this. They should leave gambling alone. Your paper is quite right. Save our bets, right?
That's right. And I think, as you were saying, Farage's language is quite punchy in our page 10 today. And he's arguing that, Labour is this middle-class party that does not trust ordinary people to, have a bet or a pint without turning into addicts. And, of course, he makes the point that now pints are much more expensive because of the national insurance rise for employers. And also the Labour Party wanted to ban smoking in pub gardens.
That's right.
A story in The Sun that managed to stop that. So he's really framing Labour as the party of anti-fun. But, the Save Our Bets campaign is not just about fun, because it's very clear that this would be incredibly damaging to the economy, and lots of jobs would be lost. I think we're talking about, Betfred said that they could shut 1,300 of their shops. This is something like 7,000 jobs. William Hill is talking about 1,500 jobs. So, that's quite a lot for our economy, and for a Labour government that has slowed hiring again for the increase in national insurance. It's not something that they should be looking at. And Nigel also makes the point that, it's not just bookies that are going to struggle with this. It's also arcades. Obviously, it's his constituency in Clacton. There would be severely damaged by the increase in gambling, in taxes on gambling, and also on sport, because we know that those companies, those betting companies, are the ones that fund advertising and all of that, and it's grassroots sport and so on. So it's very important, and of course, the Sun is very happy that Nigel Farage has decided to back our campaign.
Yeah, you're so right. I missed that element out. People get a lot of enjoyment out of drinking, of gambling, but also, of course, you're quite right. It's a great, both of those arenas are great boons for our economy. They provide lots of employment. So this idea, shut it down because some people suffer because of it. It's not only the fun police. It's not only a killjoy, it is also bad for our economy and bad for millions, probably millions, but certainly thousands, tens of thousands of people's jobs. Absolute madness. So good for the Sun, good for Nigel Farage. Save our bets, folks. Meanwhile, on page 19, your colleague, your excellent colleague, is he your boss, I suppose? The political editor, Jack Elsom.
Of course.
He is your boss, yeah. He's sitting just there, isn't he? You having to say that? No, seriously.
I'm afraid he's been sent. Kemi Badenoch is doing a speech today.
I know.
And it appears that she's doing it outside. So there's a bunch of journalists all standing
freezing,
waiting for her.
Serves them right. But yeah, we're going to go live to that a bit later. But Jack has written about the Prime Minister. He's angry, so why isn't he doing anything? But the aspect of this that I think we should discuss is, why isn't the Prime Minister doing something about our spiralling asylum seeker hotel problem? You know, we learned earlier this week, due to a report from the Home Office, that in fact Home Office civil servants are having rings run round them by private contractors, and instead of going forward, asylum seeker hotels costing us taxpayers an obscene £4.5 billion going forward, they're going to cost £15 billion. Why isn't the Prime Minister getting to grips with this scale of waste?
Well, that is a very good question. And, you know, this thing that came out earlier this week, that they want to house migrants in 2 military sites to begin with, you know, it's something that the Home Office has been looking at for quite a long time. So why is it getting only to now, when maybe next month 900 men will be housed there? And we know that the MOD was looking at other sites, dozens of other sites, I'm told. So it's really up to the Home Office to now do something about it. And I think the Prime Minister was very clear. There was quite a lot of talk earlier about whether these sites would be more expensive, actually, than hotels. And I think what we got from the Prime Minister's spokesman was that, yeah, it depends on what site, because there are some sites that are available now, ready to go, and there are other sites that might take a little bit of work. So that could be more expensive in the short term. But anyway, the Prime Minister was very clear that he said he thinks that it's actually like the British public does not want to see asylum seekers in sort of luxury accommodation, and actually putting them in military sites, even if it ends up costing more, might be a better solution, because you don't have that image of asylum seekers coming here and just being put in a 4-star hotel.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with that is, I mean, I don't mind the idea of it, but it doesn't get to the crux, to the heart of the matter, does it? I mean, what the people of this country want to see is a stop to all of these migrants crossing the channel illegally and then being welcomed into the warm embrace of our asylum seeker insanity. They want to stop this. So Starmer seems to have converted the whole debate into imagining that what the nation is obsessed with is where we put these asylum seekers. Yes, it's a better, cheaper option to put them in military bases or disused military bases than expensive hotels, but that isn't really what we're worried about. And by the way, when he says, yeah, I'm going to put all of my asylum seekers in military bases, no more in hotels, what he's done, he's planning to put 900 migrants or asylum seekers in a military base in Scotland and another one in East Sussex. Meanwhile, we got 32,000 living in hotels. So tip of the iceberg doesn't even begin to cover it, does it?
No, absolutely. And I think what's lacking there, of course, he hopes that by putting migrants into military sites, for instance, and making it seem like it's not as comfortable, it's not as luxurious, the pull factors would be reduced. But the truth is that there is no there's no real deterrent, right, to stop these migrants making the journey. And we've seen the farcical one-in, one-out deal with France.
This is supposed to be a deterrent. It's not really, is it?
It's supposed to be a deterrent, but already 2 weeks ago, I can't remember if it was just last week. It might have been just last week where it emerged that a small boat migrant, Iranian,
came back.
Came back.
Yeah. By the way, Martin, there's another scandal with him. He's still here. He's still here.
I know, absolutely, because we found out that, of course, the effing migrant, sex attacker migrant, was deported yesterday. But then in the morning, the minister admitted that the Iranian men who came here twice was still here. And it's not clear why he's not been deported yet.
God almighty, it's just such a shambles, and it's becoming a dangerous shambles because, as we're seeing more and more, too many of these asylum seekers, not all of them, most of them are decent people, I'm absolutely sure, but too many of them are either being charged with or convicted of very serious crimes, and the nation is extremely concerned about this. Martina, great to talk to you. Thank you so much. Martina Bett there, political correspondent at The Sun. And let's really come... Oh, yeah, I told you we got lots and lots of texts about... these fines. Here's a good one. This is from David. I was given a choice of a fine or a speed awareness course for doing 32 miles an hour in a 30-mile-an-hour limit at South Croydon at 6 a.m. on Saturday morning. Unbelievable. A speed awareness course for doing 32 miles an hour. It's just so ridiculous. Martin from Nottinghamshire says, what's the difference between dropping litter and breaking into our country? One, you are fined £100 for, and the second, you are given hotel accommodation, 4 meals a day and 40k a year. I'm not sure it's 40k a year, but it costs us 40k a year. That's a damn sure. Unbelievable. What else have we got? Lots and lots about this. This is sort of contrary, really. This is Barry. He says, much as I admire Peter Blexley, I do think far too many smokers dump their fag ends whilst he was putting it down the drain. His current solution is the one he should have used. I am sick and tired of seeing people drop their fags and grind it with their foot. It's rubbish, so take it home. Yeah, I get that, but Peter was trying to avoid that. I suppose if you really wanted to get pedantic, it's not the ideal solution to put your cigarette butt down the drain, but he was trying, he couldn't find a bin, put it down the drain. That's not £100 fine, is it? That guy on the TV last night, a strawberry, green stem at the end, looks for a bin, can't find, puts it down the drain, £100 fine. Woman fined £100 for walking her dog, not because it was crapping on the pavement, but because she didn't have a poo bag. In case it crapped on the pavement. I mean, that's ridiculous. And then we're looking at the lady now, who in Richmond in West London last week was fined £150 because she's waiting for the bus with a paper cup of coffee. Thought I better not take that on, the bus might spill it. So she pours it into the drain. There she is, reenacting it like that. £150 fine. She appealed, and the council admitted that was rather over the top, and they rescinded that decision, so she got off that one. But this is what's going on in the nation now, folks. That more and more people are being fined for these tiny offences by council jobs worths. If you've got any experiences of that, give me a ring, 03444991000, or you can send us a text, or you can drop us a voice note. But seriously, this is just revenue raising. Also, it kind of creates it's kind of jobs worth, kind of Chinese atmosphere, doesn't it? This is anti-social behaviour here, give us some money, no. Go away. Leave us alone. Let's go to break. When we come back, we'll talk about the Southport killer Axel Rudikabana, you know, we're beginning to find out more about his parents. They were Rwanda migrants, of course. They escaped the genocide in that country and came to this country. They're always depicted as these poor innocent mum and dad. Well, more and more, because of the inquiry going on into the Southport massacre, that horrible murder that their son committed, more and more we're finding out they knew all about their kid. They knew all about the monster they had raised, and they tried to persuade the authorities to keep quiet about it. It's not quite the innocent bystanders that they've been depicted. We'll talk about that next. Stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's talk about, I suppose we have to, if we must, that little monster, Axel Rudikabana, the awful teenager who broke into that dance club, dance class, Taylor Swift dance class for kids up in Southport last summer, and committed that most terrible murder. Killed 3 children, injured many more. Now there's an inquiry into this terrible incident going on in Liverpool at the moment. Liverpool Town Hall, Southport inquiry it's called. It's been... One of the things about Axel Rudikabana was, first of all, the authorities told us essentially he was a choir boy from Cardiff. That's all we needed to know, apparently. Obviously, his family had moved from Cardiff up to Lancashire, near Southport. And all we were told was, oh, yeah, he's from Cardiff, as if he was some kid from Cardiff. Then we learned he was a choir boy, he'd been a choir boy. Well, there was a lot more to him then. What we weren't told, what we were deliberately kept in the dark about, was the fact that his family, his parents, were refugees, migrants, if you like, from Rwanda. In fairness, they escaped that country because of the genocide that was going on there. They came to this country. But it is beginning, this inquiry is beginning to throw up uncomfortable questions, which feeds into what we've been discussing this whole show. The effect of the migrant crisis, the effect of letting in more and more foreigners from foreign cultures that are very different cultures to us, letting in more and more people about whom we know nothing. Now, hitherto, Axel Rudikabana's parents, his mum and dad, have been painted as these poor parents, you know, with a very difficult kid, but, you know, you can't blame them. The dad tried to stop him getting in the taxi the day he went to that dance class, and so on and so forth. But it's now, Alphonse Rudikabana is the name of the father. It's now emerged that he spent a lot of time while his kid was always in trouble. He was always in trouble. You know, carrying a knife, trying to stab people, things like that. He spent a lot of time trying to stop the authorities dealing with his kid. You know, he asked for information not to be shared with the youth offending team. You know, because he expected a high degree of confidentiality. He said that this would cause great upset and ordeal to his family and so on. He protected his kid. Let's talk to Connor Tomlinson, writer for Courage Media and political commentator. Morning, Connor.
Morning, Kev. I wish the reunion were under better circumstances.
Well, we haven't spoken for a while, but I did see your tweet yesterday. Yeah, some of the pictures of the Rudikabana family home have been shown at this inquiry, and you put on Twitter that his bedroom looked like a bedroom of squalor, arguably. I mean, it does look rather squalid, I agree, but arguably you could say this is, you know, a teenager's messy bedroom, but it is particularly messy. I agree with you there. But what is emerging here is perhaps that his parents, you know, were not quite the sort of innocent bystanders or poor parents trying to do... That's the rice in poison that was found in his room. Also, of course, which could have killed thousands of people. Also, of course, they found an Al-Qaeda training manual, a terrorist training manual. For some reason, he was never charged with terrorism. And he was also turned down for the Prevent Anti-Terrorism scheme for some reason as well. But the parents, not quite the innocent victims of this little monster that they've been depicted so far, right?
No, the Mail earlier this year put out a piece that said the parents are collateral damage in this tragic tale, and I think we've entered a really strange era, Kev, where we disconnect the crimes committed by young murderers from the conditions in which their parents chose to raise them. I mean, we've still got that image up on screen. For those who are only listening in to talk, the blinds are smothered in black mould. This is a downstairs room, by the way, so this is as you would come in via the front door through the house.
Actually, sorry to interrupt, Connor. I'm just looking at it. It is a little bit more than just a teenager's messy bedroom, isn't it? But carry on, sorry.
Well, it's also very important to note that his brother, Dion, is in a wheelchair. How are you going to get a wheelchair through that room? If the rest of the house is like that, isn't that a very neglectful environment to raise a disabled child in? And I bring up his brother only in relation to his parents, not to insinuate that his brother is any way culpable, but because his brother and his parents' treatment by our country is symptomatic of the ingratitude that his parents showed towards us by raising a killer in our midst. Because they were brought over in 2002, that's Alphonse and Letitia, his mother, despite the Rwandan genocide ending 8 years earlier, despite them living in Uganda and not Rwanda, despite them having familial ties to the sitting Rwandan government, Paul Kagame's government, that's been in there for the last 20 years, meaning they were safe, despite Alphonse being a war hero because he fought for the Rwandan Patriotic Front that put down the genocide very commendably. So we don't actually know why they were granted asylum in the UK, for what reason. We've never been told, and I think that's a matter of public interest. For Dion's wheelchair, 5 local Rotary clubs pooled their resources to raise money for it because the family weren't earning very much money, because Alphonse's businesses were, he was a taxi driver and then he ran some sort of bric-a-brac resale business that was named after Harry Redknapp, I think, strangely, that didn't bring in very much money. So the local community tried to provide Dion with a new wheelchair, very generous of us. the family bought their house on a social housing plot, meaning that their stay, whether it was through asylum, whether it was through their house, or whether it's now living in witness protection, has been subsidised by the taxpayer, by you and me, Kev. And in response, what did they do? Well, when their son was repeatedly referred to social services for bringing a knife into school, for saying he wanted white genocide, for being able to list off all of the historical dictators and genocides to his teachers, having this macabre fascination with mass murder, they told other family members and the like not to relay to social services the violent nature of his personality and the fact that he took a hockey stick into his old school in December 2019, smashed up the wrist of a former pupil and had to be restrained by a brave teacher who dashed out of the classroom to tackle him to the ground while the school was on lockdown. Also, as we've seen in text, WhatsApp messages reported by the BBC, Alphonse knew that his son was ordering, presumably via the family Amazon account and family credit card, because remember, Axel did not have a job. He was 17 at the time of the murders, so where did he get the money for the knife and the ricin materials, one must ask. But Alphonse knew that Axel was ordering suspicious Amazon packages to a neighbour's house. The neighbour complained he kept having to receive them, and Alphonse said, I will tell Axel to stop ordering them. Did he question his son as to what he was ordering online? Why he was ordering a knife on Amazon? We don't know. But what we do know is they failed to stop their son. They bought him the tablet that he researched genocide on. They allowed him to conceal ricin in his messy bedroom. They did not alert the police and have him detained when a week prior to the massacre, Alphonse stopped his son from getting in a cab to go to his old school, presumably to commit another attack. So there are serious questions about the culpability of the parents here that have not yet been asked at the inquiry, have been posed in Parliament only by Rupert Lowe, and instead have been shot down, much like his old teacher, when she said that Axel was sinister for bringing a knife into school because, yet again, because the perpetrator is not white and the son of immigrants, we are called racist. I think if we were a bit more quote-unquote racist by the government standards, who call everything racist, then those three girls would still be alive.
So, yeah, he got into trouble at one school for beating up a kid with a hockey stick. He was expelled from another for taking knives to the school. When he turned up at his third school, I believe it was, the headmistress, the head teacher that you're talking about there, talked to him, and she said, why did you take a knife to your previous school? And she said she was filled with a sense of dread when he replied to use it. And she was so filled with a sense of dread about this evil kid that she went to the authorities and said, we've got problems with this kid. He's going to do something terrible. I know it. I know it. And she was sort of dismissed on the usual basis, oh, you're only saying this because he's a kid of colour, you're being racist. This is the scourge of our country, isn't it? A terror to actually deal with problems that surround people of colour, ethnic people, people from different cultures, in case we could be charged with racism. And it looks to me as if this family generally or the authorities have turned a blind eye to the severe problems, not with just Axel, but with the parents as well.
Well, the reason you're not allowed to ask these questions, the reason the head teacher was shut down, Kev, is because we live in an age where we abide by a delusion of the blank slate, that literally everyone is exactly the same no matter where they're born, who their parents are, what they believe, and the thousands of years of cultural history that might have shaped how they interact with other cultures and other people. And this great delusion has led us to import people who are wholly incompatible with our civilization. And I must note that even though you're aware of this, even in your language it's snuck in, we are an ethnic people, there's no mistake about it, who see us as their ethnic enemies. And that was a quote actually by the head of the Ramadan Foundation in 2016, who wrote about the Pakistani community's awareness of the rape gangs 10 years ago, and he said that they were aware, but they buried their heads in the sand because they didn't want to be seen as siding with, quote, the white enemy. And so what we're beginning to understand in the age of mass migration, in multicultural appeasement, in anti-racist policing, which only ever cuts one way, of course, against whites, what we understand is there are people from other parts of the world who have long-standing ethnic and historical grudges with us, like Axel Rudikabana, who told a classmate during a football game that he wanted white genocide, and remorselessly are willing to inflict that upon the natives.
Yeah, well,
so all we should say is those people just shouldn't be here.
Yeah, we've got to get real about this. Connor, really good to talk to you again. Come on again soon. Connor Tomlinson, writer and political commentator. We'll be back next with the sport with The Sun. Next.
If we start a process where we're paying people like this who are foreign criminals, that's the difference here. One thing, being economical and incentivising people to go that are here to save the British taxpayer money. There's some common sense in that approach. There is no common sense in providing a financial incentive for somebody to go and commit a crime, go to prison for a few months, and then be released and then be paid a huge sum of money to us, £500, in Ethiopia, in Eritrea, in other countries. It is an enormous amount of money.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. It's time for this.
90 minutes in 90 seconds. From The Sun.
And let's go straight over to the Sun's Chelsea correspondent, Dan King. Dan, well, Chelsea beat Wolves last night, only just, but they did do it. That was to be expected. But I think we need to talk about Liverpool, beaten, thrashed at home at Anfield, 3-0 by Crystal Palace. What on earth is going on?
Well, I think it's their fifth defeat in a row in domestic competition. It really is a wretched run. I think if you look at the team selection by Arne Slot last night, where he started half a team of kids and had a whole bench full of kids, it's pretty clear that It was dismissing the Carabao Cup as a priority, despite Liverpool being 10 times winners, and they got what they deserved against a Palace team who were making a habit of beating them. It's the third time in the last few months that they've beaten them. So once you saw Slot's team selection, it wasn't much of a surprise. But the way in which Liverpool's Premier League champions have collapsed is a shock to everyone.
And I think what the sort of narrative here is that he won the Premier League last year basically with Klopp's team, with Jurgen Klopp's team. Now Liverpool are playing his team and they're not up to speed.
Well, I think it's a little bit unfair that because one of the best things he did actually was convert Ryan Gravenberch into a defensive midfielder, and he was a real linchpin of that team. And the fact is that Klopp couldn't get that team to win the league, and Slot did. So I think he's bought himself a bit of time to get this right. But they did something unprecedented this summer. They spent a lot, huge sums of money on basically half a new first team, and the simple fact is it has not gelled.
Dan, exactly right. And by the way, get a better job. Be the Fulham correspondent. Good to talk to you. Layla Cunningham from Reform next. Stay tuned.
Five, four, three, two, one. Yay!
8722, start your message with the word talk. Who would you send to space and why?
The person I would love to send to space would be Mr. Keir Starmer. And then I would tell the Galactic Empire that he was part of the Rebel Alliance and let them blow him away with the Death Star. No Brits was involved, no fingers could be pointed.
You carry on taking the medication, George. Yes, I'd send all the Labour government to space with a one-way ticket and throw in the SNP for being useless. They're all a bunch of... Oh, all right, fair enough.
One person, quite frankly, I think needs to go to space in a one-way journey is Jeremy Kyle. He goes on about his age one more time, how he's 60 this year, he was 59 last year, repetitively over the course of the weeks and months. We have to hear him, I'm 60 this year, I'm 60 this year.
Richard Tice, did you put that cheeky bugger up to that?
I'm hoping he's going to send me the invoice because that was absolutely brilliant.
Which MP would you send to space?
Although I'll get in terrible trouble if I answer that. But it's fair to say there's quite a long list.
The sad thing is about sending people into space on a one-way ticket is I don't think that we've built a spaceship big enough to take the lunatics off this planet. I mean, from the net zero loonies to the transgender loonies to the racists to the terrorists, there is just so many to the wokerati. We need some big spaceships.
Big spaceships.
Good evening. I never know how you're going to start this conversation, Jeremy.
Katy Perry went to space today, OK? Who would you send... I'd love her to say what I wanted to, but I'd never disrespect her. Who would you send to space who could never come back?
Well, I'd be happy to send Ed Miliband to space, I think.
Oh, that is an outrageous question, so I'm not even going to answer that question.
Sam Matterface, so you get the job, yeah? Come on.
No, Sam Matterface, I tell you what... There's no.
I think David Lammy would be the person I'd want to send up in space and never come back again.
Yeah, the problem is how much would the bill be for him to munch through whatever food on the way there?
Hey, it worked.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. In a little while, we're going to talk to the mother of Barnaby Webber, the poor guy, poor student who was stabbed to death in Nottingham, Emma Webber. So that's in about 20 minutes. But before that, lots to talk about as we welcome Westminster City Councillor, Reform UK's rising star, Layla Cunningham. Hello, Layla.
Hi, Kevin. How are you?
I'm all right. I just want to warn you, you won't like this, but we may have to cut at some point to go and see old Kemi Badenoch, who's staging a weird open-air press conference by the River Thames. So we may have to cut and go and see what she's saying, but I promise you we won't go for very long. But I don't know what she's talking about, but it'll be the economy or something like that. Well, hopefully she doesn't interrupt us too much. But let me ask you this. I've been told this is the theme of today's show. I think that we've reached a kind of critical mass in terms of the crimes being committed by asylum seekers. Hundreds of asylum seekers either charged with or convicted of serious crimes. We have to be careful with the horrible murder on Monday of that poor man, 49-year-old guy, Wayne Broadhurst, just walking his little dog down a residential side street to the west of London, Uxbridge, because a Afghani asylum seeker has now been charged with that murder, so you're a lawyer, you'll understand the difficulty there. However, the nation is shocked by this. It's traumatised, I would say. We were traumatised by the sheer horror of the murder anyway. Then we learn that the suspect, the man who's been arrested for it, broke into this country illegally 5 years ago, 2020, and was later granted asylum to stay here forever. So that shocked us. Also, we found out, or last week, an asylum seeker at an asylum seeker hotel in Walsall. He was convicted of the brutal murder, stabbed a poor girl who worked in his asylum seeker hotel in Walsall, stabbed her, waited for her outside and stabbed her 23 times with a screwdriver, and was then filmed dancing around and whooping with excitement. He's been done. He's gone to jail. Also, another asylum seeker whose asylum seeker application was turned down. That's a rare thing. He was so furious, up in Derby this was, he walked into a branch of Lloyds Bank and stabbed a random victim to death. He previously said, because you've refused me leave to stay in this country, I'm going to kill 500 people. But he left it at one. Unbelievable. Also, just one more example of more and more of these cases cropping up. We've learnt today that another asylum seeker is awaiting sentence. He's doing what so many asylum seekers do, delivering food to the houses in Maidstone in Kent. 2 women answer the door, he sexually assaults them. He's waiting to be sentenced. He's been found guilty of that. More and more and more of this. We're beginning to palpably experience the results of what happens if a country opens its borders and lets in, over a period of 15, 16 years, thousands and thousands and thousands of mainly young men about whom we know nothing. This is a national disaster. We've got people ringing out. A woman rang Julia Hartley-Brewer yesterday in floods of tears, saying she's terrified to go out. Something really bad is happening in this country, and we've got a government doing absolutely nothing about it. Your thoughts?
I mean, you're spot on, Kevin. These are devastating, violent crimes, and every single one of them is preventable, because these men, like you say, shouldn't have been here. And I mean, it's a system that invites danger and rewards illegality and punishes us with fear and grief and crime. And the whole system needs to be dismantled. But we have a government right now that prioritizes international relations and prioritizes international treaties over the safety of its people.
Yeah.
They don't want to leave the ECHR. They don't want to remove the pull factors. You know, he says he's going to stop the hotels, but I read that he's signed contracts till 2029.
Yeah.
It's all just spin. I mean, and think about how ridiculous. The convicted sex offender, he threatens to lodge a last-minute asylum claim, so we pay him £500 to leave. We are a joke country right now, and we're a seriously dangerous one. If the law, they don't understand that if there's a law or a treaty that stops us from keeping people safe, then of course you change the law.
Yeah, and also, Layla, I think the people are crying out for leadership. Now, after the murder, that murder on Monday night, which was revealed, if you like, on Tuesday, It's not an exaggeration to say that it left this nation in a state of trauma. Millions of people traumatised by this, by the murder, and then the knowledge, the revelation by the authorities, to be fair, not trying to keep secrets. No longer they do that. They used to do that. But they released the information that the suspect, the man suspected of this awful crime, is an Afghani asylum seeker who broke into the country 5 years ago and was subsequently granted asylum. A story of our times. So they learned that, they're traumatised. So what I'm saying is, with all these crimes, more and more, danger on the streets, women sobbing, they're so frightened to go out, we are crying out for a statement, some kind of statement from our Prime Minister. Not a word, not a word. Who does he... He's not doing his job, is he?
Well, you hit the nail on the head. No, but then the problem isn't only the law, you're right, it's leadership. And he's not showing any leadership, because I think deep down he must know what has to be done.
Listen, Layla, I'm sorry, that moment has arrived. Can you stay there? We're just going to go and listen to Kemi for just a little while.
I believe Rachel Reeves when she said she wasn't going to put a tax on working people. No! Yeah, I didn't think so. Apparently 1 in 10 people think Rachel Reeves is doing a good job. Who are these people? I haven't met them. She promised not to put a tax on working people. Apparently farmers aren't working people. Apparently anyone who has a job isn't a working person, because they put up the jobs tax, and look at what's happened. Unemployment has risen every single month since Labour came into office. It is what Labour does. Ducks quack, cows moo, Labour puts up taxes. We need to get spending under control. That is the only way we're going to get the economy back on track. Control spending. We've offered to help Labour, but they haven't taken our offer of help. Instead, they're making more and more of a mess. Just this morning, we've seen the news. Rachel Reeves apparently has broken a law, just like Angela Rayner before her and Louise Hay before her. All we see is the Labour cabinet making mistakes, breaking laws. If the Chancellor can't even get it on top of her own paperwork, how's she going to get on top of the country's paperwork? So that is why our message is simple. If she puts up tax, give Reeves the axe. That last budget was a disaster. And after that, she said she wasn't coming back for more. And what have we been hearing all summer? Rises in property taxes, increases in income taxes. They want to tax our homes. They want to tax our pensions. They want to tax our savings. Tax, 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 tax. Enough is enough. If she puts up tax, give Reeves the axe. If you want more of something, you don't tax it. It is a very simple principle. She put taxes on jobs, jobs disappeared. They tax farmers, farmers are closing down. They tax businesses. They're taxing everything. They're taxing education. We're seeing schools close down because they can't afford Labour's taxes. Someone needs to get a grip on it. So Keir Starmer, you need to make sure that your Chancellor gets a grip. If she cannot get a grip on controlling spending, then you need to sack her. Enough is enough. But there is an alternative. There is an alternative, ladies and gentlemen, and that alternative is us. We have a plan.
And on that bombshell, now that we've moved on to the pointless declaration of what the Tories will do if they win the next election, which of course they won't, we'll leave Kemi to lecture the 30 or so journalists who are standing by the River Thames right now. Lucky for them, it's quite a nice day. Listen, before I get your reaction to this, you're about to say, I am demanding that the Prime Minister shows some leadership and addresses the nation and gives us some kind of statement about this asylum seeker crime wave, particularly in the light of that horrific murder on Monday night in Uxbridge. You were about to tell me what you thought about that, Layla.
No, I completely agree with you. And I think the country's sick and tired. We're sick and tired of being sacrificed. We're not only ignored, Kevin, we're being sacrificed. Because they're letting people, like you say, we have no idea who they are, and they're putting them among us. And they just don't care. I feel they don't care. Do you feel
Yeah,
that
I couldn't agree with you more. I think that we, the people of Britain, shouldn't have to live like this. We shouldn't have to live in fear. More and more mothers worried about their kids going to school. More and more husbands worried about their wives. You know, and let's not make this a wife and kids thing. You know, that guy who was brutally murdered on Monday, in case you didn't notice, is a man. This is a safety issue for every person in this country, and something ought to be done. At the very least, I think we should expect a statement from our Prime Minister. Statement has come there, none. It's a disgrace, a disgrace. Now, you were just listening to what Kemi was saying. I'm not particularly interested in what the Tories' plans are because they're not going to ever come into play. But I did think that was quite a good speech by her on, you know, Rachel Reeves. If she puts up the tax, give her the axe. And she's pointing out that the reason this budget, she's going to have to break all our promises at the end of November with this budget from hell, her second budget from hell. The reason she's going to have to tax the backsides of us, 2p in the pound we're now hearing, unbelievable. It was 1p as of yesterday. Now we think it's going to be double that. The reason she's going to have to break all her promises is because of her last budget. £40 billion tax grab that killed the economy stone dead. We've had no growth, nothing, the economy, business dying, everything. And therefore she's created a £50 billion black hole in our finances. This one, she made all by herself, and now she's got to fill it with our taxes. She's got to break our promises. This is an economic disaster, isn't it?
Yeah, they have no respect for the taxpayer. They have no respect for the person that wakes up, works hard and supports this country. You know, they always want to talk about the very rich, how you can tax them more, and the very poor, how you can get them benefits, more benefits. But that middle section, who actually pays for everything and works hard, is totally ignored by Labour. And it is rich coming from Kemi, though, that the tax burden was the highest since World War II under them. They raised national insurance twice under Johnson. And they raised corporation tax. They over-regulated and overtaxed as well, and they sent all businesses abroad. We're number 20 for IPOs now in the world, behind Mexico. And with them, those that IPO abroad take all their taxes, their employment, everything to another country. We don't have an environment where people want to set up businesses. We don't, because we don't reward risk.
Exactly right. And seems to be Kemi's event. I'm just watching the telly now. Kemi's event seems to be breaking up, so that lasted all of about 7 minutes. Unbelievable. What would reform do to save our economy?
Well, we bring back the Big Bang. You know, we want to see, we've completely deindustrialized our nation as well, thanks to net zero. We've allowed, that's China's long game. That's how it weakens its enemies, other countries. It allows it, it deindustrializes it. We want to see manufacturing back. You know, we want to see businesses thrive here. Deregulate. I think there's too much regulation. But you will hear a big statement on the economy soon from us.
And Danny Kruger, your colleague, you're one of the MPs for Reform UK, he announced the other day that he was going to, well, you can put it this way, declare war on our grotesquely bloated civil service, the blob. More than 500,000 people working for national government alone. That's not including all the millions of people, millions, that may be an exaggeration, working for local councils. We have way too many people working in the public sector. That inherently is bad for the economy, right?
I mean, we have a massively growing public sector that's taking so much money, and productivity, I think, is the lowest it's ever been. But I think about 50% of the public work somehow for the government, either directly or at arm's length or for a third party. That's how bloated the system is, and we're paying for it. And the thing is, in a way, Kemi was right, because all they talk about are tax rises. They never talk about cutting spending. And when you talk about cutting spending, people are like, oh, you're going to cut frontline services. No, there is a massive bloated layer that we're paying for, and it's costing us a fortune. And no government has had the guts or the political will or, you know, the courage to kind of really intrinsically look at it. But that's what we need to do. We need to cut spending. We need to reduce regulation. We need to encourage businesses to come here and set up shop. We're not. When we have our big unicorns going to France or people listing abroad, that's not a good sign for an economy.
It's certainly not. Layla, really, really good to talk to you. Sorry you were interrupted by Kemi Badenoch, but her event didn't take very long, did it? Thank you so much. Really good to talk to Layla Cunningham, Westminster City Councillor, Reform UK, rising star. She doesn't like to talk about this, but I reckon she'll be Reform UK's next candidate for London Mayor. She'll give Sadiq Khan a run for his money, and let's hope that she does. And by the way, Layla's a very tall lady. She will be about twice the height of old Pipsqueak Sadiq Khan. She is so bigger in stature than our current mayor here in London in so many ways, politically and physically. Go Layla, that's what I say. Next up, we're going to talk to the mother of Barnaby Webber, one of the poor people who stabbed to death in that murderous rampage in Nottingham. Emma Webber will join us after these messages. Stay tuned.
Where's United Kingdom?
Behind you.
Where?
Oh, I'm here. Oh, there you are.
Very good.
Oh, Stick Keir's coming forward.
All came in like 20-minute notice.
Oh, he's come up to speak and Trump sent him away.
Others, and just so many others. And it's such a compliment to what we're doing, because what we've done is something very unique and very special. So it's perhaps the wealthiest and most powerful.
Right, cut him now. Cut that.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
In a little while, we're going to talk to Sir Richard Dearlove. He's the former head of MI6 about the Chinese spy case. And I believe that Richard is rather concerned about national security and even more concerned about China, which our government doesn't seem to be, does it? Doesn't seem to think they're any threat at all. No, don't call them an enemy of the state. They're fine. Really? We'll talk about that in just a little while. Also, later on, we'll take some calls and we will play some WhatsApp voice notes if we've got any, and maybe read a couple of texts. So that's still to come. And then, of course, at 10 o'clock, the great Julia Hartley-Brewer will take over the helm of the good ship Talk and take you through to 1 p.m. Then Ian Collins, then Peter Cardwell, and then me. No, Samara Gill doing my show, Political Asylum, in the evening. And she's doing a rather disconcertingly good job, I must say. She's much better than I am. Ah, dear. Right, well, look, let's talk seriously now. We need to talk about knife crime. Knife crime is the scourge of this nation. I think we found that out on Monday night, didn't we? That brutal stabbing of poor Wayne Broadhurst, 5 p.m, walking his little dog in Uxbridge, residential street, suburbia, if you like, West London. Knifed to death, viciously stabbed to death. The police are sort of hailing their scheme of surrender your knives. Tens of thousands of knives seized by cops and handed in through surrender schemes are, they are saying, beginning to take an effect. I don't think we're experiencing any of that. Nearly 60,000 blades have been taken away in England and Wales as part of this government crackdown. But really, you know, a 13-year-old was stabbed in Manchester in broad daylight. 2 boys aged 12 were among 4 arrested. This was just only recently, and of course what we saw on Monday night. Really? Okay, 60,000 knives off the streets, that's good. But one suspects that is just a drop in the ocean, and someone who is very emotionally connected to this scourge, to this issue, is of course the mother of poor Barnaby Webber, one of 3 victims of that maniac, Valdo Calicone, who in June 2023, can it be that long ago, went on the rampage, on a murderous rampage in Nottingham, killing Grace Malley Okuma, Barnaby Webber, both 19-year-old students at Nottingham University, just walking home after a night out, and Ian Coates, a janitor, local caretaker, who he stabbed to death in his van, and took the van, by the way, and ran over 3 people. We forget about them. They were seriously injured as well. But a warm welcome to the show to Emma Webber, who is the mother of Barnaby Webber. Thank you for joining us, Emma.
Morning. Hi, thanks for inviting me, I think.
Well, look, the police are beginning to crow about their crackdown on knife crime and saying, oh, 60,000 knives have been handed in voluntarily. We've been seizing more and more knives, as if to say that somehow or other the scourge of knife crime was beginning to be tackled, whether it was beginning to get better. Well, all around us, I don't see any signs of that. I mean, that's horrible murder on Monday in Uxbridge, to the west of London. Poor guy viciously stabbed to death. Just one example. What is your feeling about this, Emma? It just seems to me that knife crime is becoming worse and worse in this country.
Yeah, I think, you know, I agree with a lot of your sentiments there. There's an element of me that has to commend any improvements because it's better than the opposite. But it's a drop in the ocean. It doesn't go anywhere near enough. You're quite right. I think, yeah, myself, my background has been working in comms, and so I understand how you look at percentages, you look at data, and you find the positive story in it. And I think that's what's being reported today. And there is that part, but you have to recognise there have been some improvements. They just don't go anywhere near enough. They are that drop in the ocean. There were five. What's not reported is the incidents of sharp bladed instrument attacks are down 5% in the last year. That's not a significant number. There is an 18% drop in homicides. I wonder how much of that is pure luck. Of this terrible incident this week, one person died, two other people very easily could have done. That is probably by luck more than judgment by the murderer. So I would say that 10 years ago we had 64% less incidences of knife crimes and assaults than we do now, and that speaks for itself. I think the accessibility of knives, I think the inability in the past of the criminal justice system to recognise that carrying a knife should be seen as carrying a lethal weapon, not just a knife, has been remiss. And I don't think there's not enough police out there with the enhanced powers to search. But where do you start? Because it's ingrained in every part of our society. You can't just blame certain parts of inner cities or schools or poverty. Look at our instance as somebody who planned what he was doing. He had a rucksack full of weapons. This is somebody that was out with a warrant outstanding for his arrest for serious assaults, who'd been sectioned 4 times, who was seriously mentally unwell. However, he wasn't unwell enough to not plan his murders. So and that's because he had a knife.
So do you think, Emma, sorry to interrupt, do you think,
sorry.
Here's what I think, for what it's worth. Okay, the police at least are recognising we've got a serious problem in this nation, and they're trying to do something about it. As you say, it's a drop in the ocean, but at least they are working towards tackling it. But I think, what wasn't nearly good enough in the slipstream of the wake of your awful tragedy was the government's response was sort of say, right, we're going to crack down on firms that sell knives through Amazon and online. Now, okay, again, that's something, but we all know everybody's kitchen is full of quite a few murder weapons. Anybody can get a knife quite easily. So the real way to tackle this is to get coppers out on the streets, and to also, you find a kid or an adult walking around with a knife, be it a machete or a kitchen knife, zero tolerance. Zero tolerance. They go to jail. Send a message that if you're found with a knife, you will face serious consequences, but we need to get cops out on the streets to do that. It is the lack of punishment, the lack of results or consequences for carrying a knife that I think are at the root of our escalating problem.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And I as I've said, if you are carrying a knife, you are carrying a lethal weapon. If you're caught carrying a gun, then you'll be charged. If you're caught carrying a knife, then you're not likely to receive anything other than maybe being confiscated or rap on the knuckles. And yes, there are amnesties and knives are being handed in, and there's a huge amount of good work being done. It's just not enough. And I think that it's the recognition. What I'm slightly fearful of is when you hear these terrible tragedies like ours, like the dozens and dozens that have happened since, excuse me, including the one this week, it almost becomes white noise to regular members of society, because we're so used. It's like American shootings. In this country, we're used to British stabbings, and that's got to stop, because I can assure anybody listening or watching today that it could happen to you. It happened to us. It happened to my beautiful boy who was walking home with his good friend, and he was ambushed and assaulted by, you called him a maniac, and to an element, yes, he is a maniac, but he's used that defence to end up in a hospital.
That's a disgrace in itself.
And that will be addressed, I assure you. We have the public inquiry that's beginning, and it's a statutory inquiry, and it's beginning in February. And it's hard to know where to unpack the gross level of failures across all of our institutions that resulted in me losing my child. But I assure you, and I assure any of your all listeners, that we'll do everything to, it's not a witch hunt, but it is uncovering the rot, it's uncovering the truth. And I think it's making our government and our institutions recognise what they have to deal with and holding
Absolutely.
back people to account. Resources are not enough. The police should be able to stop people regardless of their colour, their background, their race.
Yeah.
If somebody
his punishment, Calacone's punishment alone was not enough. Again, got to send a message. Can I just ask you before you go? Thank you so much for coming on, Emma. Can I just ask you a sort of personal question? I mean, what happened to you? What happened to your poor son is unimaginable. How are you coping?
Quite often by our fingernails. I think we are coping. I don't know how, but you somehow find a way to cope when your world implodes. We've got Barney's brother Charlie, who is remarkable, who is a shining light for us. But in July of this year, David and I, Barney's dad, weren't able to go to Nottingham because Barney was given a posthumous graduation for his history degree. Charlie went and he took it and he did a speech, and that shows the good in society. That shows that the decent people that are out there. And I know there's more good than bad, but if it's the last thing I do on this planet, Calacaine will not remain in a hospital. He deserves to have punishment for the crimes he took, as well as treatment, and that must be addressed for other people who unfortunately will be us in the future. But also those who didn't do their jobs properly, admit it, face up to it, face the consequences, and allow us to try and help make change, so that we're never going to have a perfect world, but we can at least address some of these gross failings.
Absolutely. Well, listen, you get him out of that cushy hospital and you get him into a prison. Millions of us are still furious about that on your behalf. Emma, obviously my tremendous sympathy and commiserations to you, and thank you so much for joining us. I hope we talk again. That's Emma Webber, the mother of Barnaby Webber, talking very passionately about that guy who stabbed her son to death, a poor 19-year-old son, Valdo Calacone, in a nice cushy hospital. Because, as they said, he didn't really get a trial. He got a trial by doctors. Oh, the poor guy's got mental health. Oh, you can't. Give me a break. Let's go to break. Let's talk about the Chinese spy trial next with someone who knows what he's talking about. Sir Richard Dearlove, former head of MI6. That next. Stick around.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's talk about the Chinese spy trial. The Attorney General, Richard Hermer, Lord Richard Hermer, the Prime Minister's human rights lawyer mate, he was giving testimony yesterday to a parliamentary committee about the collapsing of this case, which is clearly down to the government because the Crown Prosecution Service says we cannot convict or successfully prosecute these two guys who are accused of spying, selling secrets to China, unless the nation is prepared to classify China as an enemy of the state. These two guys, I should stress, deny that they were spies or that they in any way were betraying this nation. They deny that, but they never got to trial because the nation, this government per se, refused to say China was an enemy of the state, and therefore the entire case collapsed. Hermer said that prosecutors have worked in good faith, seeking to secure convictions against Christopher Cash and Christopher Berry, who, as I say, deny any wrongdoing. But the Official Secrets Act of 1911 posed a very significant problem. He said also words to the effect that it was outrageous to accuse the government of chicanery here. Outrageous. He's fond of saying that kind of thing. This is the little cretin that gave Chagos to Mauritius, China's best friend. Seems to have a bit of a thing for China, doesn't he? Let's talk. Let's talk to Sir Richard Dearlove, former head of MI6. Good morning, Richard.
Good morning. How are you?
Very, very well. Before we talk, let's have a little listen and look at Lord Hermer testifying at the committee yesterday.
I'm clear in my mind that certainly one very significant problem here was the Act. And the Act wasn't fit for purpose, it was out of date. So the Act under which this prosecution proceeded was the 1911 Official Secrets Act. That was an Act that was introduced in July into the House on July 1911, and it received royal assent a few weeks later in August. And during its passage, there was lots of concern raised that it was not properly scrutinised. In 2017, the Law Commission flagged that the term enemy was deeply problematic and it would give rise to difficulties in future prosecutions. And I think what has played out during this prosecution exemplifies and highlights the difficulties with that term. That is why Parliament was right to pass the National Security Act of 2023 that takes away the problems that were faced by the CPS in this case.
Sir Richard, that is rubbish. That is utter rubbish. There have been quite a few cases where there have been successful convictions on the basis that spies have sold secrets to states that have been classified as enemies, and the success of those cases has rested on the fact that an enemy of the state does not need to be a state with which we are at war with. So he's talking utter crap there, if I may say so. The government has made a complete mess about this. Your feelings?
Well, my feelings, I think, are pretty clear. You don't have to prove with... Well, look, it's not an issue of semantics. It's an issue of fact. Is China a threat to national security? Dump the word enemy. Yes, China is definitely a threat to national security. And it's not the fault of the Act, because you could bring this case, but it's for a jury to decide whether China is a threat to national security. The day after, or pretty much the day after this case was dropped, we had the Director General of the Security Service saying in words of one syllable, China was a threat to national security. He may not have used the word enemy. And advisedly, he probably didn't, because he'd been asked by the government not to. But you could produce him as a witness. I could have given you a list of people who would stand up in court. I'd stand up in court myself. I'm pretty confident a jury could be persuaded that China is a threat to national security, because it's a fact which is correct. The idea that this is semantics to do with the 1911 Act, you're absolutely right. Historically, hundreds of prosecutions have been made successfully. And there was one several months before this Bulgarian spy group when this issue was actually adjudicated legally on the threat to national security, not the use of the word enemy. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, anyway, you're right, it's semantics, but as I say, the government's case essentially seems to be, or what they're saying, essentially seems to be predicated on the fact that an enemy of Britain has to be a state with which we are at war. And as you say, you don't necessarily have to say China is our enemy, but you can say it's a hostile state, and that case would have succeeded. The truth is, Sir Richard, it's this, isn't it? That this government did not want to classify China as a hostile state, an enemy of the state, a threat to our national security, because it wanted to do big trade deals with China. It wanted to stay on the right side of China, and for that reason, our national security chief advisor, Jonathan Powell, apparently it wasn't actually him, it was his deputy, a guy called Matthew Collins, advised the CPS, I'm sorry, Britain will not help you with this case against these two guys accused of spying, and therefore the trial collapsed. But they didn't do it for legal reasons. They didn't do it for the semantics of what enemy means. They did it because they wanted to stay mates with China for the sake of the British economy. Do you think that's right?
Well, the circumstances make it look as if your analysis is probably correct. Let's go that far. But if you want to trade with China, it doesn't make any difference whether you prosecute China for spying or not on us. The only thing the Chinese understand is reciprocity. We treat them like they treat us. And they spy on us, and you can assume that we spy on them. Look, we have a much better example in front of us, which is Australia, which has a much more complex, a much more important, much larger trading relationship with China. Do the Australians, as it were, ignore Chinese espionage? Of course they don't. They're hot on it. They're looking at it the whole time. They're aggressive on it, and they prosecute cases successfully. I mean, the government have just got themselves into the most enormous mess. And, you know, Burma is just trying to get them off the hook. And I think it's disgraceful to say that those of us who've criticised the government's action in this case are, as it were, undermining the UK's integrity of national security because we're being critical of the government in this field. They made a complete bog of what should have been a very straightforward espionage prosecution. And I think any of us who've been involved in this profession are really aghast at what's happened.
It's extraordinary. Well, as an expert in the field, Sir Richard, how much of a threat to national security, British national security, is China?
Well, a very significant threat in many different fields. I mean, they've been stealing our intellectual property for years. They've organised the sort of capture of intellectual property in our universities through groups of students placed in strategic bits of the university, graduate students in particular. We've caught them spying in Parliament. Look, it just goes, it's a massive list of activity, and that's what an aggressive nation state does in circumstances where they're trying to increase their power, increase their influence, and it's just part of the international scene that we should accept and react to in a proper and tough fashion. And the Chinese will exploit this to the hilt if we show any sign of weakness.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, I mean, take it as read that, you know, all nations keep an eye on other nations. We'll be spying on them as well. What should we do, Sir Richard, about this massive embassy that China wants to build in the middle of London. Extraordinarily, most embassies, I think all embassies of foreign countries, are in rented buildings. This one China seeks to own. They're looking for planning permission. What should we do about that?
Well, from the point of view of national security, I think there are two problems. There's one very practical issue, which is communications cables that run either very close to the site or run underneath the site. And the other, I think, is the symbolism of allowing China a massive prestige embassy in such an important location. Do we really want, as it were, to give them this opportunity? The cable issue is more complicated. Can these cables be rerouted? Can they be put in a different place? That's complicated and extremely difficult to do. I mean, my view is this planning application should not be allowed to go ahead because there are too many negatives attached to it. But look, let's be clear, wherever a Chinese embassy is situated, it's going to be used in some respects, not just as a base for diplomacy, but probably a base for some types of espionage as well. And I'm not going to go into detail, but the issue of intercept and the issue of tapping cables is very real and problematic.
Why don't we just offer them a sort of site, for their embassy in Sunderland or somewhere like that? That might help, mightn't it? Sir Richard, very, very good to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time. That's Sir Richard Dearlove, former head of MI6, a man who knows what he's talking about, obviously. Just saying, this is nonsense. This nonsense about the Official Secrets Act not being fit for purpose. It is. Hundreds of successful prosecutions on the basis of that act. We don't have to be at war with a country to classify that country as an enemy or a threat to our national security. That's how all these other cases have succeeded. That's how this case could have succeeded had the government not have decided politically to be friendly to China. That's what this is all about. That's what this is all about. And don't forget, this is a classic case of deputy heads will roll. Turns out that this guy, Matthew Collins, who is the deputy chief security advisor to the government, he works for that guy, Jonathan Powell. He's the one who's taking the blame for this. He's the one who's being blamed for ruining this case. It's not him, it's the government. The government say it's all him. The government policy, the policy of Britain in terms of China, the biggest country or one of the greatest threats to our security in the world, that all of our policy wasn't decided by the Prime Minister or the Cabinet or the government. It was decided by a relatively junior civil servant, not a leader of a department, a deputy. When Kemi Badenoch said, you mean to tell me that the entire policy of Britain towards China was decided by the Deputy National Security Advisor? And do you remember, that was in PMQs? And Keir Starmer went, yes. That was his answer. That was his answer. And for that, Dan Hodges is among the many senior political commentators who are accusing Keir Starmer in that instance of telling the Commons an outright lie. Hard not to disagree with Dan, isn't it, in those circumstances? Let's go to break. We'll play you some highlights of the show. When we come back, I'll read a couple of messages and then welcome into the studio the great Julia Hartley-Brewer, who will tell you what she's got lined up for you for the next 3 hours. So stick around for that, folks.
breaking news this morning revealed that under the Terrorist Act, 242 people were arrested in the year to June of this year.
That's something you can indulge in as to all the people who aren't going to prison because, well, there's no prison spaces.
So this is a Talk exclusive we've been looking at.
I said, you take these cuffs off me and speak to me like a human being rather than a common criminal.
You're just left wondering, does these people who lead us actually hate Britain? Yeah. Do they not love our country and everything that we've stood for?
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. This is the shortest section of any show I ever present. It's the highlight spot. But there was a serious highlight when a couple of hours ago I spoke to our international editor, Isabel Oakeshott, who I think summed up the mood of the nation when she talked about this increasing threat, danger on the streets of this country, posed by asylum seekers, more and more of whom are being charged or convicted of serious crimes. This is, of course, in the slipstream in the wake of that terrible stabbing on Monday night. So take it away, Isabel Oakeshott.
This is such an act of national self-harm by successive governments. They are killing our nation. I'm not saying that ill-advisedly. This is destroying us from within. It's destroying us because it is setting people apart. It is creating resentment and division and fear. And of course, we always have to say that some of those who come over are good people, and they have a right to seek a better life for themselves, and we encourage that by creating such an attraction to come here. But the reality is that we are bringing people in from the worst trouble spots in the world. We are bringing people in who do not speak so much as a word of English, not even enough to say which country they're from. We are bringing people in who don't even know how to use a knife and fork, and I'll be bringing forward some
well, that was Julia Hartley-Brewer is in the studio. Hello, Julia. That was Isabel Oakeshott. She's talking about what I think is the big issue of this nation right now. She's talking about the increasing danger that appears to be posed by asylum seekers who are letting into the country willy-nilly. We don't know anything about them. More and more of them seem to be either charged with or accused of or convicted of very serious crimes. People, well, you had that incredible call from Sarah.
Oh,
we played that yesterday. I think she sums up the way a lot of people are feeling.
When her voice broke, our heart broke for her.
We played that earlier.
Family members and friends who lost. Elon Musk retweeted. I think it's got 20 million views or something silly now. But again, it's real. It's not in our minds. You can give us all the stats you want. We can see it's playing out. 4 serious cases are in the news right now.
Yeah, I know.
Right now.
I know.
That's just, I mean, come on. This is not going away anytime soon. And the solution isn't that we all shut up about it.
It certainly isn't. As I say, we're fond of saying, the streets are so dangerous for women and